party. So we're having a party October 2nd. If you're interested in coming to the party, DM Alex or I about the party. It's gonna be big. We're gonna be doing it big. It's gonna be a big celebration. Why am I sounding like Donald Trump right now?
It's gonna be big.
It's gonna be big.
It's gonna be big, guys.
It's gonna be tremendous, guys. Tremendous. It's gonna be tremendous. You know? So we're gonna have that. We got the Bel Air setting us a package. Bel Air's partnering with us for this event. They partnered with us earlier this year for the Rap or Go to the League series. And they want us to continue winning. And they're gonna send us a nice package for us to celebrate with y'all on October 2nd.
Exponent, shout out to Exponent. So for those out there who don't know what Exponent is, it's a platform where you can kind of learn like different technical interview styles. So like system design, regular technical interview, behavioral, product management, so on and so forth. So it's really, really helpful for that. So I was using that. And I just went through the motions, man. Went through the first round, got to the second round, and then ultimately made it to the final round. And I knew when I got through the final round, I was like, I killed this shit. I was like, yeah, they got to give me the offer.
Murder to excellence.
Yeah, I was like, I killed that shit. So
you're pitching them just to get them on the phone for 12 minutes so that you can ask them questions that's going to make you look different. And then they're going to be like, damn, they're asking me some deep questions. And then you're going to say, next week, I'm going to come back to you with a draft of some ideas that my team and I are going to put together based off of your answers.
Hello and welcome to the Hustle Over Everything podcast. It's the podcast where we receive stories, tips, and tactics from entrepreneurs who have done it. And this is our 100th episode. You feel me?
I feel you, dog. 100 episodes. You know what, Al? Let me have this stage here. You know what I'm saying? 100 episodes, guys. You know, the pre-Whitfield era, before Alex joined me on this amazing journey that we're on, I originally started the Hustle Over Everything podcast. And if you had told me there was 100 episodes that you're going to get to, I wasn't even thinking about that. The whole intention of starting the podcast was to inspire people. And I've always been someone who loves giving out positive energy, someone who enjoys seeing the best in people, because I believe that's how people should be seen. And I always talk to people like that. And I wanted to create a outlet of where more people can have this message, where you're sharing the good word, where you're sharing uplifting spiritual words and encouraging people to pursue their dreams, whether that's in business, the arts, or something creative. And that's how I began in podcasting. The evolution of Hustle Over Everything first began as the Owen Osinde podcast. Then I really got into e-commerce. It became the e-commerce podcast. And after that, I really wanted to broaden it to something that can relate to everyone who wants to chase after something. And a moment of serendipity led me to think of Hustle Over Everything. It's more of a embodiment of my spirit as someone who works hard and just hustles to really get to the next stage. And, you know, over the recordings, met Alex through school. He's building his business. And I wanted to interview him because, you know, he's a great digital marketer. Wanted him to share the words of how he's done it with other people who want to learn. And over that period, you were like, hey, man, this is great. We have a great chemistry. We have a great time recording. Let's do this full time. Pandemic of last year, we brought it together, started recording, and consistently every single week we showed up, dropping an episode for all of you. And we are here at 100. It's been a culmination of consistency, hard work, dedication, and just going through it and showing up every single day. So if you are interested in starting a pod, you know, start, because I even forgot we're approaching 100 episodes. You just got to record every day. But yeah, thank you so much. As first and foremost, I want to begin by saying thank you for listening and joining us on this journey. We cannot do it without everyone who's listening, man. So I just wanted to open up with put out the words on the floor. Alex Witt.
Yes, sir. What's up?
The winner, I would like to call him.
Why do you call me that?
The winner.
I'll never understand it.
You know, what? How are you feeling right now, bro?
How am I feeling? I'm feeling like, you know, this is not something that anybody else would clap for.
Precisely.
So you really have to, you know, celebrate yourself.
Yeah.
You know, because no one will do that for you. No one will take the time to say, hey, congratulations on that, unless you make that statement and claim it for yourself. So that's one thing I'm happy to do. And I'm happy to, you know, mark this day, mark this time in our lives of, all right, this is what consistency gets us, and look back.
Exactly.
This is the time to look back at how far we've came. And I was looking back, actually, I'm creating some content for our socials and seeing the quality. Of our past podcast was insane, man. It was absolutely insane. So I'm happy to make it past, that stage and go to something new and, set the bar higher now. All right, we've hit 100 episodes. Now what? What did we learn in this 100 episode run? Now what can we use to get to the next level? So that's what I'm looking at, most definitely.
Yeah, next level is even the level we're at. With consistency, you learn a lot along the way. And I can't really pinpoint what we're going to learn in the next 100 episodes, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of things which present themselves to us, which will be great learning opportunities. When we began, we had high aspirations of bringing in great guests. One of the most popular ones, Paul C. Brunson, worked with Oprah. That was just last summer. We spoke to David Mullings, and you'll hear from David Mullings in this episode.
Shout out David.
Shout out to David, DM, man. Big advocate for business and wealth building. Shout out to Jamaica as well. We saw all these people as people like, damn, bro, I'd love to get him on the show, and we got them. So who knows what's next for us? Who knows what episode 155 is gonna be? Like, it's crazy, and that's the thing, everyone. We're just going day by day, and things just happen, and we're growing. We're seeing the quality. I remember recording in the basement, looking like a bean with my hair, like, you know what I'm saying, just bad camera quality. And now we got webcams. We're making moves, man.
Yeah, we got DSLRs too.
DSLRs.
You know what I'm saying? Well, not DSLRs, mirrorless, but still, it makes a big difference. And it's been a great journey. It's been a great journey going through the stages of using Zoom to using Riverside and Zencaster and trying to figure out the exact model we should take, and saying no to people.
Yeah.
One thing we've had to do is say no to a lot of people. We've tried to create a brand that you guys can trust when it comes to having people on who have actually done it, who have made $1 million businesses, high six-figure businesses. So now it's just time to build on that and really show you guys how to have a better business, and we're applying that to ourselves as well. I'm taking them things and I'm applying to my business, saying, all right, I need to do this too, I need to get that set up, because if you don't apply it, it's just entertainment.
Exactly.
So that's the real goal, is really just giving you guys more value. And right now, the value is such a cliche term now. Everyone's saying value, but it's the truth. It's a buzzword for sure. But we have to really deliver on what we promise and give you guys more people who have actually done it, and real stories.
Exactly.
So I'm excited to give more of that as we continue this journey, because it's going to be a hell of a journey for sure.
You were in marketing, and you had thoughts of doing podcasting. Mm-hmm. You've done podcasting now for about a year and a half. Mm-hmm. What are some things that you can reflect on that you're most proud of?
I would say going number 1 in Jamaica. That was big. Number 1 in entrepreneurship in Jamaica. That was big. And number 2 in business.
Yep.
That was fire. And top 20 in Canada. That was a big moment. I'd also say learning, honestly, has been a big moment. Having podcast guests become clients, I'd say that's probably it. Yeah, having the podcast guests become clients, top charting, and just being able to grow our network as well, man. Developing real relationships. I really respect Den, man, and I'm happy that Den's becoming a real friend of ours. So yeah, I'm excited to grow that, network, relationship, and ecosystem. I really want to have a strong ecosystem of entrepreneurs, and it's coming to build. Mario came on the show, and someone else ended up buying from him him coming on the show.
Are you serious?
Yeah, man.
No way.
I swear to you, bro.
What?
Yeah, and I was like, that's amazing.
No way, man, bro. And even as we reflect, we're seeing the ecosystem actually take shape. Yeah. We're seeing the connects.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Where you see Tristan Barracks, which was on the podcast, do photo shoots for Vivian K. You know what I'm saying? We see Eden work with Tristan. Mm-hmm. We're seeing people who are in the network work together, and that's the goal of really having an ecosystem where people can say, hey, I need this. Oh, Alex had him on the podcast. Let me go see him. Oh, I like this. Yo, Owen had him on the podcast for a live. Yo, we should go hire him, and just creating that ecosystem where it's just one hand washes the other. That's the real goal. So I'm really excited to build on top of that and just spread more value and work with more companies too.
Also, I'm very thankful for you, bro. I want to say this on camera. You are someone who pushes me to be my best. You might not know it, but you do it in little ways. And the way you do it is you think differently. Sometimes I feel like I can get into a malaise of comfort in doing one certain thing because I really want to see a way through. But I think you have the ability to see something that this might not work. Let's call an audible. And I'm like, man, Al, we just started doing this. Like, but that's the type of thing that makes a great team, right? Is being able to push the boundaries. Hey, let's try and find a way to snap out of this way of doing things. It works, but let's explore something differently, man. So I think sometimes I get in that trap, but I'm very thankful for you, bro, for taking my call and sitting down with me on the light in SLC when I asked you, hey, I have this idea. You brought me some ideas of, hey, man, I've been thinking this. I'm like, wow, like, talk about chance coming together and agreeing to go all in. A lot of people will say, hey, man, I'm down.
Oh, yeah. Then the next week.
The next week is I really want to do this, bro. But I remember you sat there and, like, you took a moment. You weren't even talking for, like, 10 minutes just thinking. And I was like, oh, I guess he's serious. I'm like, all right, cool. And, you just went all in. And you going all in, I went even extra all in because I'm like, okay, we got something here. Let's see what we can do. We start with an end vision of mine. We really want to create the largest entrepreneurship network in the world, impacting every single country. Hustle Over Everything is going to be a place where every person who aspires to learn about business at all levels, Hustle Over Everything is in the mix with Entrepreneur, Bloomberg, Fast Company, Wired, Forbes, right? Hustle Over Everything is that brand, and that's what we're building, and that's what we're working towards. So wanted to pay my respects, Alex, for
that, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Really appreciate you coming through and building as we build a team. Who knows who's gonna join us? Hustle Over Everything is just gonna be have its life of its own. And
for sure. No, I really appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
That means a lot. That means a lot for real, bro.
Yeah.
Yo, if you want to work with us, come through. Show your stuff. Let's see what we can do.
Exactly.
Let's build this. If you realize that this is a platform you want to take part in, let's build together.
Yeah.
So with that being said, let's hop into our podcast. So for this first part, because listen, we have like 6 or 7 or 8 people. So we want to break it down into 2 parts to at least give you some, breathing room to digest all the content. Also, real quick, I don't give a shout out to Tracy Alice.
Tracy,
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, man.
She's been a big champion for us. Advocate.
Shout out to Tracy Alice, man. And shout out to Tiffany as well. One day we'll have you on the podcast.
Tiffany's the Budgetnista, guys. Go check her out.
Yeah, shout out to Tiffany Alice and Jabril. Tracy, one thing I want to highlight for Tracy is that a lot of these PR companies that we work with for the podcast will put you through the ringer, to say the least. Tracy was the first person to follow up with us.
When they put us through the ringer, they're like, yeah, you guys sound amazing. We love you. Like, you guys are like, we love the brand, La Hustle. Yeah. Oh man, we can't wait to work with you guys. Yeah, we'll follow up. Crickets.
Yeah, so it's really important to see people who actually support us, and to put our logos beside the real big brands. Means a real difference. So shout out to her. But let's get on to David, man. Let's get into David's episode. Before we do that, let's pop this bottle, man. I just opened Bel Air. Shout out to Bel Air for partnering with us for our 100th episode. They're also we're gonna have a 100th episode party October 2nd. Yes.
You
should put that at the top.
Put that top over the top. Yeah. I'm gonna go to the top. Yeah. Hey guys, you know what song I'm referencing to? But we're
You sing that song horribly, bro.
We went to Atlanta. That's all I was singing.
Oh my days.
All
right.
But do you want to have a little memento before you say, as you're opening that, let me go on talking about the party. So we're having a party October 2nd. If you're interested in coming to the party, DM Alex or I about the party. It's going to be big. We're going to be doing it big. It's going to be a big celebration. Why am I sounding like Donald Trump right now?
It's going to be big.
It's going to be big.
It's going to be big, guys.
It's going to be tremendous, guys. Tremendous. It's going to be tremendous. You know? So we're going to have that. We got the Bel Air. Bel Air setting us a package. Bel Air's partnering with us for this event. They partnered with us earlier this year for the Rap or Go to the League series. And they want us to continue winning. And they're going to send us a nice package for us to celebrate with y'all on October 2nd. So we got the glasses here. You know? Got the glasses. Clink, clink. Championship season.
Let's pop this, bro.
You know? The waiter's got his glass right there. I got mine.
All right, this is going to go flying. So,
you know?
We need a paper towel.
Paper towel, bro. Remember last time we popped it and I hit the ceiling. I got like the whole joint messed up.
All right. So
let me get a paper towel. That's Al is popping that. You know, I gotta... See, guys, this is why we need a team. We need some people here to be producing and helping us record.
You got me, bro?
Alex Witt, popping. Oh, okay,
Let's
yo.
go.
Pour that, brother.
All right, you just come away from the tech.
See, that's a 100th episode smell my carpet's gonna have.
You feel me? Tell me where to stop.
Stop right there.
All right.
Yo.
Let's go. Cheers, bro. 100
Cheers.
episodes. Champagne all on my fingers.
L'chaim. You know, Alex.
L'chaim.
L'chaim, dog. Alex told me he's would you like you mess if I leave you close to anything you'll just like spill it. Remember your klutz?
This is the first time I've actually spilled anything on your
You spill anything on my rug, bro, but I got the ingredients to get it out. So, but I want to enjoy that smell of success.
Yes. All right.
Yes, sir.
That tastes good. We had to save that, man. I'm happy you saved that.
Yeah. Guys, 100 epis. You know what we do.
In.
You know what we do, man.
So let's talk about David Mullings one time, because he has been a staple and been a big moment in the podcast for us.
Yeah.
I lie?
100%.
So I think we originally posted David Mullings' Bloomberg
clip
video. Yeah, a little clip on Instagram. And it had some of the highest engagement our Instagram's had in a while. And he actually reached out from that clip, and we got him on the pod. And from then, he's been nothing short of an open book, super open and inviting, and helped us get other guests on the podcast. So it's only been a amazing relationship so far. So I really appreciate David. So shout out to David for coming on the podcast and coming on the 100th episode.
Yeah, always making time. He's a very busy guy, but Dave, I know you're listening. Thank you again for taking the time from your family, from your friends, from your work to sit down with us and record again. Really appreciate it.
Most definitely. So let's get into the David Mullings episode. David, welcome to our 100th episode. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing great. I can't believe you guys are the 100 early. Congrats, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. It's been a journey. It definitely has been a journey. I want to give a big salute to you, because you really empowered us when you came on the podcast. You really believed in us. You extended yourself and said, hey, whatever you need, just give us a shout, and that really impacted us, made us feel like, it's possible to reach more people, and it's possible to, get the better guests. So I really want to say thank you for that, because you really put a battery in our backs, and not many people do that. So people just come in just like, hey, this is my business and I'm out. So I appreciate the time and the not dedication, I don't know if that's the word. I would say, the offering, it means a lot. It means a lot. So yeah, once again, thank you.
I appreciate that, but you know me, I believe in making sure that we give, not just take. I think too many people are still in that taker's mindset, and some people think they need to basically become multimillionaires before they can give back. And it's like, no, sometimes it's just an intro or helping to motivate somebody. You never know.
And actually, I stole that from you. I won't even say. They say a good artist. No, they say good artist. Copy, and great artist steal. And the great artist steal.
Yeah,
so I stole that.
Said.
And every time we end the podcast now, I'm always like, hey, so what can I do for you? And we just give back because it's important. Honestly. Yeah. So I want to ask, what have you been up to? Well, it's been a year since we last chat. What's been new in your world?
I can't believe it's been a year. It's been great. Obviously, we've been working very hard on building out the team, scaling the company. we just actually set up our hedge fund. So we invested from our balance sheet into public companies in Jamaica. So we did the first year, June last year to June this year. Got those numbers, so that establishes a track record, but that was on our balance sheet. So now we went and created a hedge fund for Blue Maho Capital to manage. Paperwork went in 2 weeks ago. We're excited to kick that off in the next few months. It's going to be one of the only hedge funds focused on the Caribbean. So that's been there. Here, we haven't really talked about it publicly, but we spend a lot of time and a lot of money working on doing an ETF. How could we do a Caribbean ETF? Can't be done. There's a custodian issue, but somebody pointed out that since we have the knowledge to go and do an ETF, and we obviously have investing experience, and then lastly, I'm black, minority, everybody's talking about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Why wouldn't I do a DEI ETF here in the US, listed in the US, investing in US companies? And so I said, well, there's no reason not to do that. My job is to ensure a return for my shareholders, whether we invest in the Caribbean or we do elsewhere. Right? The point was always to start with the Caribbean, but our goal is to build a profitable company that invests in a way that helps to create more wealth for people that look like you and me.
Yeah.
Well, why not invest here as well? So that's what we're working on now. We have a consultant join us next month. We negotiated that deal last week, and they're going to be joining October 1st and help us put together a portfolio for an ETF listed here in the US, and we're excited to kick that off. A lot of people obviously know Blue Maho Capital more for the Caribbean stuff. That's mainly what I've been talking about, but it's time to really talk more about diversity. The Caribbean obviously adds diversity to your portfolio. Well, let's talk about adding diversity within companies here in the US. I'm not just looking at their board diversity, not just looking at senior management diversity. When you look at supplier diversity, like where are they spending their money with? And not just the companies who are mopping up and sweeping the offices, not just the company that do the landscaping. That's the basic stuff. How are you having diverse spend with suppliers who are doing your accounting, your finance work, your marketing, your digital strategy? There's so much more from a higher level services standpoint. So let's start holding them accountable. But I think instead of boycotting companies, you should have ownership in those companies. And then you can go to whether it's the AGM or you can go and have a proxy vote. Own a piece of the company first and then encourage them to do better. Or if they're doing great, you should buy a piece of them because it means that they're with it. They understand what's happening. So that's exciting.
To give a little background on Blue Maho for new listeners, like you came in around like episode 60, so a lot of people don't know what Blue Maho Capital is and essentially what you do for Blue Maho. So to give them a little refresher, what is Blue Maho Capital?
So Blue Maho Capital is an impact investment management firm that's focused on wealth creation. That's at our core. The first thing we wanted to focus on was solving a problem for people who wanted to get exposure to the Caribbean. Right? The region is very overlooked. Most people say Latin America and the Caribbean, and then only focus on Latin America. So Jamaica had the best performing stock exchange for 5 years, 2013 to 2018. But there's no publicly traded vehicle, no exchange traded fund, mutual fund, or company to give you easy exposure. So my first order of business was to solve that problem. So Blue Maho Capital was created to figure out how to give people easier access to the Caribbean. And then we want to scale beyond that. We could do Sub-Saharan Africa. We could do underrepresented founders in North America. And so that's really what it is. I'm the chairman and the CEO. I'm the founder of the company and a majority owner. And it's been an adventure. I launched it after working with a long bias hedge fund, a black-owned hedge fund here in the US. Used to work in private equity, low middle market private equity, focus on supplier diversity. So that's where that ties back in now with where we're going. But that's the idea. And
since from last year when you launched Blue Maho, no, you didn't launch it, but like from the last time we spoke about Blue Maho last year till now, how has the people you serve in Jamaica, what kind of traction have you seen over the past 12 months?
No, it's great. Well, so I would say we serve people here in the US. We invest in some Jamaican companies, public and private, and so we've seen positive benefits there, right? Especially during COVID. One of the things we did was we agreed to purchase a stake in a microfinance company, a SME financing company, right? Small businesses, medium businesses have a hard time getting capital from banks. And so we agreed to purchase a stake, and we put together some money to go and actually lend to them, have them on lend and lower interest rates in Jamaica, because interest rates, you're borrowing at, so I'll give you a simple example. We had one company who has mentoring, came to us and said, oh, we applied to the bank to try and get a loan. I need to pay down some credit card bills. We've been financing the business with the credit card during COVID. I want to pay that off. And the bank turned me down, even though we have enough assets, more than enough assets for the bank to lend them, and they can look at our receivables was more than I want to borrow, as well as our income over the last 2 years. And the bank turned him down, and I said, well, what interest rate were you going to pay? And I said, oh, the bank was going to charge me like 17%. I was like, what? You're going to borrow money at 17%, a 2-year loan? And she says, yes, I was going to pay off the credit card. I'm like, okay, well, what's the credit card? 44%.
What?
The credit card interest rate for this business was 44%. This is not because it's bad credit. That's just because that's what the credit card rate is down there. So she was willing to borrow at 17% 2 years. I said, man, what would it take if you could wave a magic wand right now and I could help? What would it take for me to help you? Because she was on, I've never seen somebody cry. Like, you see an entrepreneur, a business owner cry on this Zoom call, man. It was just eating at her that much.
Yeah.
And she said, you know what, man, if you could lend us $10,000 through this SME finance stuff, that would be huge. And I said, okay, if I could lend you $10,000 at 10% for 2 years paid quarterly. And she literally broke down crying again. And within 2 weeks, sent the money. She was able to hire additional staff. It got the business through COVID. They landed a big contract. So that was helpful from a business standpoint to say that. Another one was, with Sprint Financial Services that we agreed to purchase a stake, and I joined their board. They came back to me and said, hey, instead of just direct loans, we want to do some purchase order financing. So we have clientele that have major contracts, but as usual, you're going to get paid in 30 days or 45 days, right? Net 30, net 45. And I think most people don't understand that. If you're going to sell to the government, you're going to sell to Walmart, they don't pay you up front, and they don't pay you within 3 days. This is usually net 30 or net 40. So in 30 days after you delivered, you get paid. Well, how are you going to get the money to get the goods to then send them in the first place? It costs money. And they said, hey, we have about $7.5 million Jamaican dollars worth of projects to finance for 3 companies. One of them is a $4 million Jamaican dollar contract to deliver COVID supplies, PPE, to the Ministry of Health in Jamaica. And this company has the contract, but they don't have the cash to fulfill the order. And we sprung into action and deployed the capital through them to support that. So it felt good as a Jamaican living in the US in the middle of this pandemic to be able to write a check from our business through someone, a finance company in Jamaica, to then support another business down there, a small business that directly helped to protect some of our healthcare workers. And that reminded me the importance of what we were doing. We were giving them access to capital that they normally wouldn't have access to. And it came from mainly Caribbean Americans here in the US. I mean, the minute I said, hey guys, here's what we can pay as an interest rate, sign this thing, here's the company, here's what we're doing, here's the good that it can do while generating a reasonable return, I mean, people jumped. So that was something that has made me, I would say, even more inspired to ensure that we scale this, we do it properly, transparent, we want to make sure we have good governance. But that was, I think that for me was the biggest change in terms of seeing it. Talking about it is one thing.
Yeah.
But when somebody calls and says, here's the difference it made in my business, here's the employee that it was able to hire, here's the savings, 44%, down to 10%. That's a massive difference in savings.
Huge,
So I need to scale it up. We need to scale. And so we've been looking at ways to accelerate our plan. We've been talking about the goal of eventually listing this entity on NASDAQ. And so we're plowing ahead. There's stuff I can't say. There's SEC rules, but man, we have 3 different law firms we're working with now on each of these moving pieces, and it's been fun. I cannot wait to announce what is about to be in place.
That's insane. So walk us through it. So basically, you're about to create an ETF of a gang of companies, essentially, to put on the stock market. Right?
Well, so it's two things, right? We want to do an ETF, an exchange-traded fund that's focused on U.S. companies and is through a DEI lens, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that's one thing. So I think of this, Blue Mahole Capital is like Blackstone. So Blackstone has multiple funds under there. Blue Mahole Capital Partners has multiple funds. The first one is a hedge fund. That's what we're doing. That's the first thing. We're investing in public companies in the Caribbean. Second thing we're going to do is that we want to have a private equity fund that invests using the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. So this is impact investing. So it's not just putting money into companies, it's also tracking the actual impact that it has. So whether it's impact on reducing the cost of capital for small business, that's actually one of the SDGs, or supporting women-owned businesses, or investing in companies that support climate resilience. We want to track the actual impact. And then the third one that we want to do, and we'll execute, is an ETF, an exchange-traded fund, with that DEI piece, diversity, equity, inclusion. So 3 funds. We already have one that's already launched. Our fourth one is a property fund. We had some investors ask us to create a U.S. property fund that would eventually list in the Caribbean. Yeah, so we've been very quiet about that one. But that one was fun. This was, I think, November last year. We actually wired the money. So this is something that I try to tell people. It's funny. I don't talk about it that much on podcasts, but we put our piece as a limited partner into a property fund. So they pool a bunch of us together, co-invest with a family office in Miami to buy a stake in a $4 million property. A $10 million deal, $4 million in equity, $6 million in cash. And this is going to be in the refrigerated storage space, cold storage. And their angle was, hey, it's not just property. Cold storage in the U.S., while it's very old, it's between 30 and 40 years old. So the buildings are old. Only 3% of the space is cold storage, warehouse space in the U.S., so very tiny. They need more. And 70% of all the fresh fruits and vegetables coming from Latin America and the Caribbean come through Miami. So Miami basically was missing cold storage space. So they bought a plot of land near Amazon warehouse, near Miami International Airport. We co-invested in that deal. So that was the first deal we did. But we need to wire this money. This is the most money I've ever wired in my entire life. So, of course, I said, hey, let me do a test wire first. Let me send you like $500. If it's lost, I'm still going to be upset, but it's not the same as with the extra zero. So you send the test wire, let them confirm the next day, hey, yes, we received the money. Okay, now we need to send it. And what's funny, Chase is like, that's too much. This is a max you can wire each day. So we had to wire the money over 2 days. And I was like, wow. And when they confirmed, hey, we got the money, I was like, oh, geez. Like for a good 48 hours, I was stressed. I was like, where's this money, man? Where is this money? Yeah. So relief. And then to remember at the end of the year when we do our numbers, and I do this annual report to our private, it's a private company, but I still do reports quarterly to our investors. I do a meeting and we walk through, and everybody was so impressed. Oh, look at this. We invested in this deal. This is great. Look at the paperwork for it. And then they send us the architectural drawings. They can go on Google Maps and see where it is. And I was like, wow, they don't know the stress I went through to send this money over. But it's good. It's good to see people who look like us, who would never normally get access to a deal like this. We gave them access. And again, that's a reminder. Blue Mahole Capital is designed to give regular investors access to things that they would never have access to.
The diversity inclusion part is really interesting. It's refreshing to hear that. Can you go deeper into how that works? Because at first, does that even exist anywhere else? And what is it, if you can give us more details?
Yeah. So I'll start with this way. So I worked at a private equity firm here in Orlando. My cousin was running that firm. And the way it worked here in the U.S., and actually in Canada, this is an organization between the U.S. and Canada called NMSDC, National Minority Supply Diversity Council. And their whole goal is to get Fortune 2000 firms, Fortune 500 firms, to spend at least 20% of their annual expense, their spend with diverse suppliers. So this is minority owned or woman owned. And so they call it MBE certification, Minority Business Enterprise certification. So we would do one or two things at a PE firm. We would look into buying companies that were normal, owned companies, acquire control, because the firm was MBE certified, the PE firm was. So anything they bought would become minority owned, and then get additional contracts and scale up. Or look for a company that was already MBE certified that needed growth capital to scale. Right? You might have a business doing $2 million a year, servicing Walmart, Target, Coca-Cola, Disney, but you still don't have access to enough capital to scale. or you don't want to borrow money to scale. So this PE firm would come in, could invest, and with them taking a stake, it doesn't reduce the minority piece, right? If you went to a regular firm and they bought a majority stake in your business, you lose the MBE certification.
Yeah.
Because the PE firm is a bunch of white guys normally. Well, this was rare. So that was my introduction. And I got to go, I never forgot, I went to NMSDC conference in Atlanta, Georgia, and I got to sit down with the head of supplier diversity at Walmart at the time. And I'm asking this guy, I was like, why? Why are you setting aside 20% to spend with MBEs? Do you get a tax credit or something? Like, where is it? Where's, I want to understand the business case. And he said, no. We don't get a tax credit. We don't get any rebates at that time. It's very simple. It's like, have you looked in our stores recently? When you look at the percentage of minorities who shop at Walmart, well, if we want to increase how many of them in the community shop in Walmart as minorities, then we need to spend money with minority-owned businesses because they're more likely to have minority staff. So the money gets to trickle down and then comes back to them. So they would rather pump more money into the community because it will eventually come back to them anyway. And then the second thing they said was that the second thing is that if you have to think 20 years out, not today, not 5 years from now, but if you think 20 years out and you look at the demographic shift here in the US and Canada, it's going to be majority minority. So if you don't do business with minorities, eventually your minority customers who are becoming the majority won't shop with you. So it is smart business sense to spend money with minority-owned firms and show that we care about that diversity piece. We care about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so it was refreshing to hear that, especially coming from a white American. We know how the U.S. has a lot of race issues. I think Canada has some too, but I think the U.S. is the worst. So that is where it is. But I think, unfortunately, we've spent too much time talking about the board, how many women are on the board, how many people of color on the board, and then senior management, how many of them are black or Chinese or Indian or whatever it is. That's not enough. One person or two is not enough. I mean, kudos to NASDAQ for requiring that you have at least one woman or one person of color on the board going forward to list your company. Well, we need far more than that. That's a trickle. If it's 500 companies and they each add one black board member, it's only 500 people. That's seriously, that's
like a drop in the bucket, man.
Yeah, let's say a drop in the bucket. That's just not enough.
Yeah.
We need to encourage these companies to spend more money with black-owned firms, with women-owned firms, and thankfully most of them are excited about doing that because they get it. Like, these are our customers today, and they have more money than we've tended to pay attention to. And you look at Black America and how much money they spend and how they can move brands. I mean, seriously, you need to be paying more attention to them and their issues, which now obviously gets into the political side. Where are you lobbying? Who are you supporting? Who are you donating to? Because that stuff comes back. It comes out.
No, most definitely does. I want to switch gears a bit because I brought it up earlier. We had a conversation on the last pod that I wanted to really bounce off you. One thing that we've been talking about heavily is the investments China has been making into Jamaica.
Yeah.
I want to get your opinion on what you think the long-term and short-term effects of that could be in Jamaica, because we're not on the ground. We haven't been there. I haven't been there in years. But you are consistently working with people there and in Florida. You're really tied down to the community. So I want to get your opinion. What's your opinion on that, especially in relation to Jamaica becoming the next Singapore?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. Everybody remembers me saying that on Bloomberg. So I would say this. The first thing is that China has been doing a lot of debt financing predominantly, as we know, in sub-Saharan Africa, Southeast Asia, and it's been received more with a bad taste because of some of the ways they've structured those things. You don't pay the money. And that's my case. I think that's mine. And so you lose the port,
Hopefully,
for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is Lila. She wants to make sure that she's on. She's on this. I like how this mic is sensitive. So big up to Lila. That's our 4-year-old daughter who has not seen me in a while. So I'll go and see her after this. But in terms of China, the first thing is that we have to look at facts. Most people don't pay attention to it. We let emotions run. And what we need to do is pause and just have the logic side go through it. China accounts for less than 4% of Jamaica's debt. So we have to just start with that. So they're not that big. Like China owns a ton of US debt. We don't talk that much about that, but that hasn't caused any negative repercussions here. And China, one of the largest projects they did in Jamaica was taking over what was Highway 2000, the Trans-Jamaican Highway. So that was built by the French. We brought in a French company first. They had exclusive rights to build toll roads in Jamaica. The government supported that, and then the government took it over and brought in the Chinese to finish it. The Chinese provided really low interest loans, I think like 2-3% interest. But the government of Jamaica did something that was really interesting. It's going to be a case study for other developing countries to follow. They bought out the whole thing. So the government of Jamaica went, borrowed some money, bought out the whole Trans-Jamaica Highway, then took it public. They listed 100% of the toll road company on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. It was the largest ever IPO in Jamaica's history. This was last year. But they also added one more piece, because this is the issue that people have with not just China. It could be the US, could be the EU. Oh, we're selling out to foreigners. We're divesting stuff. We're losing our country. They guarantee that if you are a Jamaican citizen who worked in the public sector, so I'm a lawyer, well, a doctor, might be a lawyer for the DPP, the public prosecution side, a policeman, a teacher, a nurse, you are guaranteed shares for at least like 1,000 Jamaican dollars. So not some big number. The small investor was guaranteed shares in that. So they ended up tripling the number of investors participating in the local market. It went from 10,000 to like 40,000 because of that. I mean, they had people lining up at Western Union to open an investment account to buy shares in the Trans-Jamaica Highway IPO. I think that is an interesting way. So you can use China to do the cheap financing, build it out, and then sell it to the public, and now the local citizens own it. I think that is the way that you'd want to do things with China. And they have one other investment that's happening there that really doesn't get talked about that much. Michael Leachin was the one that talked about this in a video he and I did 2 years ago. And they came in and they had done some sugar stuff that hasn't done well. But they came in to an area in Clarendon to take over one of is a bauxite mine. And think about it, Jamaica has red dirt. That's the bauxite that turns into alumina, which we then put on a barge. We ship it to usually Louisiana to then get smelted and turned into aluminum, turn it into cans, and then you bring the empty cans back to Jamaica to then put Coca-Cola in it.
Yeah.
Guess what? The most value-added stuff didn't happen in Jamaica. Why couldn't we do that ourselves though? Well, because the cost of electricity was too high. To run an aluminum smelter with 33 cents per kilowatt hour makes absolutely no sense. So our cost of electricity was too high. So the Chinese came in and said, we're going to build our own LNG powered plant on site. We want to work on doing a smelter, and we're going to build a light manufacturing facility and train people. And so they committed to hire 60,000 Jamaicans. They'd hire and train 60,000 people to do light aluminum manufacturing in Jamaica. That's something they've wanted to do before independence. So you have to give credit where credit is due. This wasn't done by the Russians that owned it, Rusal. This wasn't done by Noranda out of Louisiana, the American companies. The Chinese came and said, hey, we want to do something a little different. We want to do more local development. So I am very careful about how we talk about the Chinese. I do want to make sure that we don't risk losing our port. Like, we should not be taking on too much debt. But Jamaica is not that prime. I think other countries in the Caribbean face that risk. But because of what Jamaica went through with the IMF at the same time as Greece, we paid down our debt from 147% debt to GDP ratio down to 98%. And it's an interesting stat I told some of my investors. About 77 countries, developing countries, went to the IMF last year during COVID. Holy crap, we need money, we're struggling, we need to be able to support our debt, we need to be able to put some money into the pockets of the people who are, as we now call them, essential workers. Because we're shutting down economies for 2 weeks, for 4 weeks, 2 months. Jamaica was able to, yes, we went to the IMF, we didn't touch a single dollar of our standby facility from the IMF. And because the government had a surplus in an emergency fund, they're able to take money from that and pay out to all these tourism workers who obviously, tourism literally paused for a few months around the world. That is amazing, in my opinion. I don't think people realize that Jamaica is one of the few countries that has their debt going in the right direction. It's going down, and it's now in law. We have an independent central bank as of last year because of the law that was passed. And there's a fiscal responsibility law. They have to pay the debt down to 60% of GDP within the next 5 or 6 years. They got an extension because of COVID. So you don't have to worry about Jamaica making poor fiscal decisions with China and say, oh, I'm going to take on an additional piece of debt. I'm going to give you the port of Kingston as a collateral, and if I can't pay, we lose the port. Jamaica doesn't have to do that, and will never make that mistake.
Yeah, we were covering, and we mixed in Africa too, right? Like, and we're talking about how 70% of Africa's debt is owned by China, and the crazy thing is it's owned by like 9 countries. You know, one of them is Kenya, you know, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Sudan, Congo.
Djibouti, yeah.
Exactly, right? So there's some good that the Chinese are doing, but it just comes with a bad residue with how they're taking over. If those debts, so for example, like Mombasa in Kenya, that is now on the verge of being owned by China because they cannot make their payments. Exactly. Yeah. So it's.
But so this is what I would say. China is not doing anything new, right? The whole debt trap approach to financing was invented by the UK, by Britain. I mean, that's what they did, and so China simply taking it and now using it in the 21st century. Unfortunately, if your government is not fiscally responsible, they will make bad deals, and that's something we talk about, right? Ultimately, government is rarely good at business. So they should leave business to the business people, the private sector. And this is where, PPPs, 3 Ps, private, public, or public-private partnerships would be far better to execute that way, because I think politicians are focused on the next election, 4 years, 5 years. So they want to strike some big deal to go and, hey, we launched it, we're going to do the stadium, or we're doing this dam, or we're building this power plant. Look at us, yay, we broke ground, re-elect us. Versus business are like, I need to make sure this is sustainable. Like, can we still pay the debt in 6 years, in 10 years? Because that matters to them. They're not trying to get elected. They're trying to generate a profit.
Yeah. That's so true, because we have to think long term. You have to think in the macro, right? And that's very interesting that you say that, because I think that's what happened with Sri Lanka. Because with Sri Lanka, they created their port with a short term, like the politician was the one who put it into action. And so he could run on the short term of, hey, I'm building this port, get the country into debt, and then pass it off to the next person.
Exactly.
And then he runs and he's like, hey, I'm going to refinance this debt so we can get it low.
Yeah, they never think it will catch up. They never think it will catch up. Versus in Jamaica, we did 2 things. We privatized the operations of Montego Bay's airport. So that's the Sangsa International Airport. So what we did, the government still owns the airport, but they leased it, like a 20 or 25-year lease to a firm. Multiple companies had to bid. A firm in Spain won the bid, and immediately that airport was one of the most modern airports in the Caribbean once these guys came in and could put in their money. The government has a guaranteed return every year and doesn't have to maintain it. That's beautiful. So they did this. So that's under one government, one party. That party loses election, the other party wins. The new party goes and does the exact same deal with the airport in Kingston, Narromanda International Airport. So both our major airports are owned by the government but operated by Spanish companies, and they've been doing a good job. It's the same thing that looked at doing it with the port. And we had 3 companies. Dubai Ports World was one that had wanted to look into it, because Jamaica really should be, and it's the 4th node. If you look at what's happening around the world, you have Singapore and the airport, you have Dubai, you have Rotterdam, and then Jamaica, the 7th largest natural harbor in the world, first one when you come out of the Panama Canal. So it should be Singapore on the Western Hemisphere. And they said, all right, we're going to do a deal with you guys. You can help to manage the port. That's been going well with CMA, CGM. The Chinese bought a minority stake in that. It is not controlled by the Chinese. It is controlled by Europeans. But they've done 2 phases area to dredge this harbor and make it deeper. They're about to kick off phase 3. They just bought 2 brand new cranes 3 months ago. I mean, massive cranes. And Jamaica is one of the only ports in the Western Hemisphere that can accept post-Panamax ships. So these huge ships, right? 14,000 TEUs. That's 20-foot equivalent units. That's what's on the back of the truck. That the ship has 14,000 containers, docks in Jamaica, because it can't dock in Miami. It can't dock in Fort Lauderdale. It can't dock in Jacksonville. I mean, that's the whole point. You have to stop in Jamaica. And they're going to expand it so they can accept even bigger ships. I think that is the way that you want to do development, and the way that you leverage multinationals and their relationships. And that's something that Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore pioneered in the 1960s. He said that if you don't have the skills and the knowledge locally, work with multinational companies, be open to have them invest, but you need to determine how they're going to invest. Otherwise, let's be honest, they're rapacious, man. They'll just take everything they can. And obviously the biggest part was corruption, ensuring that they deal with the corruption part. Because if they could just pay somebody on the table anyway to break the rules, they're going to break the rules. That's unfortunately the way multinationals tend to operate. Let me come in your country, I'm going to pay you under the table and dump something in the river and don't sue me, kind of thing. So let's make sure that we control that part. But that is how Jamaica has approached it, and I think that's the right approach. It clearly has worked so far.
Most definitely. So in short, you think that Jamaica is still on the path to becoming the next Singapore of the Caribbean?
Oh yeah, I've literally seen some plans for something that were sent to me that I can't talk about them yet publicly, but to see even here's the size of it, here's where the buildings are going to be based, here's what we're going to be doing here for this logistics plan. There's no question that they are pursuing that. They want to really become that, especially from a shipping and logistics standpoint. The location makes absolute sense. All right, within a 4-hour flight of Jamaica is a market of 500 million people. Between Jamaica, I mean, think about it, Jamaica, Toronto, all the way down to South America, a market of 500 million. So we already have all the shipping lines stopping in Jamaica. Why not expand and find what else can we do and move up the value chain for that? So for me, it's a no-brainer. If you're not better than Jamaica in the Western Hemisphere, you're missing out. And what I would say is it adds diversification to your portfolio. It's not perfectly correlated with the U.S. markets. That's good. We want something that's not, when the U.S. is down, Jamaica isn't always down. Although you've probably heard the joke. We've said that if the U.S. sneeze, Jamaica catch a cold. That's what I grew up hearing. So it's not exactly the same anymore because we've diversified. A lot of people don't realize this, but I think is the second largest export partner for Jamaica. Our trading partner is Germany. It's not even,
really?
The U.S. is obviously number one, but Germany? Wow, didn't think about that one. Yeah.
Unreal, man.
Interesting. So as we're close wrapping up, because it's a long part. We have a lot of guests on the show today.
Yeah.
I want to ask for the retail investors like us, that look to the advice you're giving and the projections of Jamaica. Where can we find our footing? Where can we get in and try to make money on this uprise of Jamaica?
Yeah, well, obviously, I'm going to tell you, check out bloomerholecapital.com, or at least even our blogs, our videos, especially our media page. We share a lot there. I go on a lot of podcasts or articles that can give some insights into the industries that we're looking at and why we're looking at those industries. You would have to open your own account right now. 5 pieces of paperwork, 2 letters of reference. But if you want to trade for yourself, or I would say invest. I don't think you should be trading. I think you should be investing for the long term. But people can reach out to us, info@bloomerholecapital.com. I'm always happy to even just answer an email and say, hey, here's companies we're looking at. Here's why. Here's some info. Do a little info session for them on Zoom and really give insight, because the more capital we can have investing in the region, then that's good. That money helps. It has an impact. But secondly, we all should have some diversification within our portfolio. I'm not saying have 100 things. I don't believe in owning a ridiculous amount of stock on the public side, right? Your portfolio should have some public stuff, some private, probably hedge fund, venture capital, private equity. You should definitely have real estate in there. But you have to have internationals. There's this thing that's called home bias, and I think that's the most important thing that investors or future investors should leave with from our talk is home bias affects every single country. So if you look at the average portfolio in Japan, for example, it's probably going to be 80% Japanese stocks. You look at the portfolio in Germany, it's probably 70% German stocks. Same thing with the US. It's usually between 72 and 75% average is US stocks in somebody's portfolio. But the US is only like 40 or 45% of the world GDP. So you're overweight your home, but that's because you have a home bias. You need to try and not have a home bias. So if you're in Canada, guess what? You need to diversify to US and then to EM, emerging markets is how we do it. And I think Jamaica should be in the EM portfolio. This is not about the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and certainly, man, I'm not invested in China right now. I'm worried about their rule of law and the way things work there. Right? We want to invest in places that have legal systems that we trust. So Jamaica is English speaking, as is most of the Caribbean. It's British law, so you shouldn't have an issue with the law down there. It's the same system as Canada, the UK, similar enough to the US. And you can feel comfortable standing in front of a judge down there if something happened. So you want to have that diversification in portfolio, and the return of capital is more important than the return on capital. If you tell me I got 40% over the last 12 months, but I can't get my money out, I can't sell, I can't convert it and get my US dollars back, we have a problem. And that should be the most important thing. If I'm going to invest somewhere, how likely am I to get back my money? Or how easy or how hard is it to get it back? Jamaica has no issues, record international reserves. We're about to hit $4 billion US dollars in reserves. You need US? You can get it, don't worry.
To last time you were here, you really highlighted your prolific relationship with Michael Lee Chin. How's that progressed over the past year?
Oh man, so Mike has said I should never call him my advisor anymore. I'm supposed to call him my coach. So he has been coaching me now. We talk almost twice a week. It's been really interesting to share more details with him. He was the one that helped to push me on launching the ETF, right? He reminded me that as much as I am so focused on Jamaica as a Jamaican, he built AIC, his first mutual fund company, by servicing Canadians and investing in Canada and the US. And it's like, so don't let patriotism cloud the need to have a profitable business. If there is an opportunity, solve that problem. But again, patriotism doesn't pay the bills. Your job is to generate a return for your investors and for the people who you manage money for, make them wealthy. So Mike likes to repeat that, but I would say this way: in July we did one of our investor calls, and I messaged Mike. We did it on a Saturday, and I messaged him in the morning and said, "Hey, it'd be really cool if you could pop on to our chat, the video call, and surprise everybody, and just give us 15 minutes of time." And he's like, "Okay, what time I need to be on?" So it starts at 8 p.m. Can you be on at 8:15? No problem. And then I didn't tell anybody, right? Just in case he didn't show up. I didn't want to tell anybody. So I mentioned that we're going to should have a guest speaker. Boom, 8:15 he shows up. And I get a text message from a friend of mine. "Oh my gosh, I'm on a Zoom call with a billionaire. This is amazing. This is something on my bucket list that I didn't know was on my bucket list." And then so, Mike holds court. First question I asked him, "Why are you so supportive of me and Blue Moho Capital and what we're doing?" And he said, "Honestly, I look for three things for me to support someone. Number one, I look for integrity." And he says, "I've met David, I've met his dad. He's of the highest integrity. I appreciate that. Number two, I don't want to contribute to swelling his head. I'm sure he knows, but intelligence. David is one of the most intelligent people that I've met, the way that he deals with problems and approaches them, his framework, really impressed with that. And lastly, and most importantly though, is that he wants to have similar motivation. Like, I am not here just to make money. I want to educate and inspire and help other people to create wealth." And that's something that he felt was important, that mutual interest. So those were his three things. And of course, the place was like, "Oh, wow, that's great." And then we got into know his investment philosophy. And so when we were done, he hopped off. Of course, he messaged me the next day to ask, "Hey, what was the response? What was the feedback?" Everybody was amazed. Like, man, this guy really believes in you. I'm sure he doesn't do this for just anybody. And so it's humbling to remember that he's doing that. We've gone over our investment strategy, and so we've made some tweaks thanks to Mike and his team. Up to last week, we were talking to one of his key team members on some plans going forward. And he wants to deepen the relationship. So I'm excited for that. I think it's important that our generation learns from the people who've come before us. And then, as Mike always says, pay it forward. Everything he shares with me is intended for me to share with the world. It's not for me to keep for myself. And I love that. I don't meet enough people who are that giving.
Facts. Most definitely. Man, what a great way to end that. And I just want to say, if you ever come to Toronto, Carabana, we got you.
Carabana.
Not if, man. Not if.
When?
Is you guys been locked up? Like, your country been locked down for a while, man. I need to visit. I need to come to T-Dot. So bad.
That's a fact. That's a fact. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the hustle is what you can control. So control your grind and control your life. I'm Alex.
And I'm Owen Osinde.
Am I supposed to say I'm David?
Yes, sir.
I love it.
Yes,
I love
sir. And this is Hustle Over Everything, y'all. Peace.
Peace out, guys.
All right, so that was David Mullings. Yeah, I loved how he broke down the intricacies of the China-Jamaica relationship. That really, shed some light on that we didn't have in the China episode. If you haven't listened to that one, go back and listen to that. That was a great episode. So now let's move on to Mario Armstrong.
MA, 2-time Emmy Award winner. Mario comes in. Mario just has the DNA of someone who is meant to do what he does. You know what I'm saying? High energy, passionate, great speaker. And he really dropped a lot of games on making great content. And small influencers, I know you want to get the deals from brands. The whole thing that you need to do, the first thing that you got to do is just change your mindset of how you approach influencers, how you approach sponsorships. And he does an amazing job explaining this in part 2 here that we have him back on the pod.
Yes, sir. What you drinking, Mario?
Got the rocks glass.
Yeah, man. It's this guy actually takes Grey Goose bottles, cuts them, and then flames them to make them into actual glasses.
Oh, that's
Kind of dope idea. But I don't have Grey Goose in there. What's in there right now is Ciroc.
Okay.
Ciroc boys in the building tonight.
Most definitely.
Well, Mario, man, it's good to see you. I know you're working with Alex and stuff, but for me, man, this is an honor again to chat you up, and I know you always bring it. This is who you are, right? You're Mr. Content, you're Mr. Creator.
Yeah,
and
bro.
Man, this is fun, especially for 100th episode. Like to see where we started and come back now. I think this is it's crazy. Just early this year, but 100th episode, man. Thank you again for doing this, man. For the second time around, we really appreciate it.
It's an honor and a privilege.
I gotta say that.
It's an honor. I mean, 100th episode. Come on, yo, that's a lot of consistency right there.
Yep.
That's a lot of consistency. There's, when we did a podcast club culture conference, and we're going to be coming out in 2022 with a podcast culture tour. So be on the check for this. But when we did it in Clubhouse during COVID as a conference for all the podcasters out there, we did a survey to really find out what do these podcasters really need, and what stage of the development are they really in. Man, so many people were starting out. And so many people have under 50 episodes. So many people. But the ones that had over 100, so few, man. Because it takes a lot of consistency, commitment, patience, and a willingness to want to ride out the journey for the long haul.
No.
Yeah.
So congrats to y'all, man. Let's go ahead and have that toast, man. 100
Let's
episodes. 100 episodes.
Yes, sir. Yes,
100
sir.
episodes, baby.
Let's go.
Here's to another 100. Here's to another 100. Another 100.
Mario, another one. Mario, they say Alex gave me this crazy stat. He was saying that the average podcast doesn't make it past 10 episodes. 10 episodes, man.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it all day. It's too easy to start. It's too easy to start, man. And this is why, when people start coming to me talking about how do I monetize my podcast, and I'm like, okay, there's 2 ways you can go about this. Because one is, first off, do you have a track record of any podcast yet? Do you have a consistency? If you do, I don't care what the audience is. So many people get so focused on just the numbers alone that they're like, I'm not brand worthy yet, or I can't get a brand sponsorship, or I can't monetize it yet because I got to still work on getting more audience. And to some degree, you always have to work on getting more audience. But that doesn't mean that you don't have value now with the audience that you have. What you don't have is an understanding of how your audience that you do have is valuable to some brand that's out there. So there's a brand that sees value in your audience, even though you still think it's too small. But here's the real silver lining on the whole thing. The whole thing has changed. Within the past 24 months, the new trend is that marketers are now looking for small, unique, niche audiences. They're actually looking for small audiences. But if you don't speak that language, if you're not talking to PR agencies, if you're not meeting with marketing firms, if you're not talking to clients directly in their marketing department or social media or events or corporate social responsibility, all these departments I'm talking to on a regular basis to really make sure that I know what I'm getting in terms of my own brand sponsorships. But then that's also educating me because I have a course that educates others. So I'm getting access to information really quick and on the ready. But a lot of people don't know that marketers have shifted their attention away from just big audiences. And they're starting to look for smaller, more unique, focused audiences. And that means you actually have a higher potential now more than ever to get brand deals. And the reason why that is because the brand gets 7 times the amount of engagement on their investment. So the ROI is much higher when a brand does a deal with a smaller audience.
No, that's a fact. And I want to ask you something because we're approaching some different sponsors, and I feel that what a lot of brands and a lot of podcasts get to is the first meeting where they have a discovery call, and they're talking about what they mutually align with and where they can see things going, right? Once you're at that point, because I feel like this is where we are a lot of times, and we don't make it past this hump. Is we're in the discovery call. It goes, all right, cool. We'll circle back. We really like what you guys are doing, and from that point, the things start to dissipate. From that point, where do you see entrepreneurs, podcasters, YouTubers, content creators, event managers? Where do you see them going right, and where do you see them going wrong?
That's a great question. I mean, I think people are going right in the pitch process when they are identifying a brand that seems to have the best alignment with your audience. So when you know who your audience is and what products and services your audience needs, that becomes your immediate target list. A lot of times we focus on like our product and we think that's what the brand should be aligning with. The brand is really aligning with your audience. So what does your audience need? What tools, what devices, what software, what clothing, what food, what drinks? What does your audience need, or what do they like? Those are the target brands you go after first. So you're going after the right brand. So you're doing that right because you know your audience and you know who you're going after. Then you get the meeting and you're asking for the discovery call. You're doing that right. A lot of people go wrong at this point because they will send the pitch with pricing. Big red flag. You never send a pitch with pricing. I don't care. And you never send it with the 3 tiers. Like you can get this package, or this package. All of those are red flags because it tells the marketer on the other side, you don't know the latest in how to pitch me. And you don't even know what's important to me. You're just throwing your ideas at me thinking that I'm going to buy into one of these. So that's a flaw. Now, if you're not doing that and you're having the discovery calls and you're having a great conversation, but it seems to dissipate from there, my question is, what are you asking in the discovery call? So let's talk this through. When you have a discovery call, what do you guys normally do? What happens in the call? What takes place? You're telling them about your idea or about the podcast. Like, walk me through as if I'm a brand.
Yeah. So what we do is we go and align with brands that actually fit in with the Hustle Over Everything podcast. So entrepreneurs who are within like that, they're starting out. So people who are actually like using products that the brand is all about. So for example, we had a meeting with Calendly, let's say. And Calendly is like a scheduling tool, right?
Yep,
and entrepreneurs right now, this is something you use to really organize your schedule, your time. We're like, all right, perfect mix. So our goal was to go in there, and Alex spotted this, is to say, hey, they're actually making a lot of content online about how to be productive, how to really have good meetings, and etc. We're like, hey, we talk about this on our podcast. Let's actually go to them and actually say, let's create the content for you and integrate it within our podcast. That was our angle. So we did our research and we saw, hey, this is actually going to fit in because we're naturally doing this and we're talking about it on the pod, the synergy there. We had a conversation with it. We send them our breakdown of what we've done with some brands, for example, like Bel Air earlier this year. And after that, once we sent that to them, it just went dead. So we don't know what happened in that conversation. So we just want to know, like, what is it when we have those conversations are some critical components that they want to see? Is it numbers? Because if it's numbers, small podcasters might not have the numbers that will get these people excited. So how do you flip that conversation to get them to actually be interested beyond the numbers when you provide them with such a synergistic idea like that to move on forward?
So the first thing is, this is a great question. The first thing is, when you're in the pitch mode and in that pitch phase, the problem that many people make is that they're pitching their idea, but they're not uncovering the client's problems. So you're pitching before problems. You're not problem solving, you're pitching. So people pitch before problem solving. So you have this great idea. You know that you're talking about them. You know that there's synergy there. Like, this is going to make mad sense. There's no way they're not going to see the connection. We talk about it. We know our people need it, blah, blah. Here's the thing. They may not even need that help. They may not even need that help. If you asked them this, though, in the discovery call, if you would have asked these specific questions, and this is where the game changing happens. What are your top 3 priorities right now? They're going to tell you, we're trying to reach XYZ audience, or we need more people to stop using the free version. We need more people to use the premium version. So they're going to give you clues as to now how you can help solve problems. When you say to them, go back to, and I want you to go back to them and be like, we really would like to have a different discovery call with you. I think we may have gotten ahead of ourselves. I think we were so excited about pitching you an idea that we didn't take the time to really figure out what your priorities are. We'd like to revisit a conversation where we could ask you a series of questions where we could really understand your priorities so that we can go back and meet with our team to show you how we can be a problem solver for you. So that's going to get them thinking like, oh, okay, that's completely different. They're not pitching me a concept. They're trying to find out where our pain is and how to solve that pain. So you're going to ask them questions like, what are your top priorities? What keeps you up at night? What's the best product that generates the best money for your business? When you start asking them things that are very important to their bottom line, they automatically, number one, respect you because they're like, damn, they're asking me different questions. This hits differently. And so your value goes up. But number two, they're telling you everything you need to know in order to come back to them with a customized solution as to what you're going to now offer them to help them with their problems.
That's good.
Yeah, it makes us reflect now and actually things like, damn, like we could have done this better, we could have done that better.
It's always the hindsight. Okay?
Because you know, Mario, like getting these meetings is hard, right? There's a lot of follow-ups and then getting them to decide, okay, let's meet with these hustle over everything guys, or let's meet with this podcaster, see what they have to say. You have such a small window to really make a good impression, and if you don't, it's even harder to come back at it. So I think this is what a lot of podcasters and content creators need to understand is that one shot you have, especially with a large organization, is so critical that you really got to get it right the first time to really move the needle on to the next one and just say, hey, we got this right. Let's figure out the next steps to really see how we can execute on this.
Yeah, and I think the problem with the pitch process for a lot of people is that they're trying to get that one shot. They feel the pressure of getting that one shot right because they're trying to actually get you to, you're trying to pitch the idea that you want them to buy into. And that's actually the wrong goal. The first goal for your first thing, the first thing you're pitching them for is a discovery call.
Yep.
Not the idea. You're pitching them just to get them on the phone for 12 minutes so that you can ask them questions that's going to make you look different. And then they're going to be like, damn, they're asking me some deep questions. And then you're going to say, next week, I'm going to come back to you with a draft of some ideas that my team and I are going to put together based off of your answers. Now they're getting a proposal from you. You called it draft on purpose. You're getting a proposal from you that is a draft that's going to show them how you listened. And now you're reiterating their answers, their problems into your solution. You said you wanted to reach more entrepreneurs of this particular age and to use your tool to actually use the premium version of that. What we decided that we were going to do is we're going to come up with a custom ad read, and we are going to talk not about the free part of the service. We're not going to even mention anything about it being free. We're going to talk about the 3 top premium benefits of going premium, and how that advances their productivity, how that advances their revenue, how that gets them to better opportunities. And you told us that mobile is more important than desktop. So we're going to be pushing people to the mobile app. We're going to do that in our stories. We're going to do that when we talk about it on the show. And we're going to do that when we do any posting or any videos that we do. You're going to see us using Calendly on our mobile or whatever it is. And you said you would like to see more integration with maybe one of the things that they said is we want to get more retail to use us for scheduling. So they use our thing to schedule booking appointments, and they want to get more coaches maybe to use it. Okay, we decided to do this ad for coaches, this ad for retail, and they're all going to hit the different audiences with the pain points that you're solving for them in these messages. Now, when you come back to them with that, they may not go for everything, but what they will respect is the fact that you gave them a custom solution, the fact that you listened to their pain points, and now even with your smaller audience, they know that you're going to reach people with a more defined and clear message. When you have a small audience, the only way that you can actually convince a brand, one of the only ways that you can let me say that again. When you have a small audience, one of the only ways you can really convince a brand to do business with you is to prove your worth, your credibility, not your numbers. What's your credibility, Owen? What's your credibility, Alex? Are both of you entrepreneurs? Are both of you content creators? Do you guys kick it with other people that are in that same space? Do you guys have experience? And what experience do you have? What credentials do you have? Oh, you've done 100 episodes? That's an award number one. We're very consistent. Do you know, XYZ brand, most podcasters never make it past 10 episodes. We are already in the top percentile. And by the way, we've done brand deals with this brand or that brand. And by the way, this is why I say it's always smart to even do brand deals for free with initial brands just to get them just to get onto your podcast or in your content, because the new brands that you're talking to have no idea that they didn't pay.
Yeah. We're thinking about that actually. We got approved for some affiliate deals, and we're like, is it worth it? You know. But one thing I also hear a lot about as well is being the UGC for brands, right? Yeah. Where instead of having to hire a model, you can be the model for them, or that user-generated content that creates ads for that brand. Have you tried this yourself? What experience would you suggest us take when it comes to taking that route?
So let me make sure I'm clear on what you're saying. You're saying that, are you saying as an influencer, or are you saying as somebody that's going to generate content for the brand on behalf of the brand?
That's the second option. Someone's going to generate content on behalf of the brand.
Yeah. So here's how I would position that. You got to position, everything has to be positioned with what's the value in it for them. Everything. So you already know what happens if you get a brand deal. You already know what you're going to do with the money, or how it's going to help you get more marketing, or how it's going to help you invest into the podcast, or invest in your company, or get you to buy new equipment. You already know what the outcome will be if you get a brand deal from somebody, a financial brand deal. But what we got to be focused on is, what can we give them? What's the value to them? So what I would be asking them is, every company, here's how I'd present it. Every company these days at your level has to be a media company. Being a media company is a lot of work, because you got to be on the ground. You got to know what the trends are. You got to be in the conversations. You got to be in the rooms. You got to be in the group chats. We're in all of those. All we do is surround ourselves with people all day that are in the group chats. We're going to the meetups. We're over at this spot. We're in this event. We're going to this thing. We're doing that thing. We're posting here. We're talking about it on our podcast there. We are on that ground level. Let us create content for you that's authentic to you, but speaks authentically to the audience you're trying to reach. And they'll believe it more because it's coming from us, not from you. Yeah. So then you say, so what's the important messages that you're not getting out? What's not resonating? What don't they know about you? What do they need to know? And so those questions will start getting you some open-ended answers, and that'll start cluing you in as to, oh man, all right, I know exactly what content we need to create for them.
Got it, man. And,
The other
you
thing
know,
too is that I didn't get to see what you pitched, so I don't know what your one sheeter what your one sheeter looks like, right? And a lot of people will put a one sheeter together, and they'll have their demographics, they'll have their reach, they'll have maybe what the show is about, what the topics are, things of that nature, which is all fine, which is all great. But if you are starting, or if you do have smaller numbers, then what you have to do in your pitch is you have to aggregate other things that you're going to do in addition to the numbers you're presenting. So what I mean by that is you're presenting your podcast, but don't you use your social media to promote your podcast?
Yep.
And don't both of you
course.
also do that?
Yep.
Right?
100%.
So we're going to also not only talk about our podcast numbers, we're also going to throw in our numbers personally. And even those could still be small. That's fine. We're trying to aggregate everything. So we'll put those numbers in, because we're gonna go to the brand, and we're gonna say this to the brand. Hey, Calendly, after talking to you about your needs and really hearing you out, what we're gonna do is we put together a holistic package. Part of this package gets you heard on the podcast. So you're gonna be heard on the podcast, and if it's a video podcast, we're also gonna show some clips or some short bits of Calendly. We may even show how we book our guests using Calendly as a part of, our show feature, right? So you're going to show it, but you're going to talk about it. But then we're also, Calendly, we're going to be doing, 5 promotions on social per our accounts. So that's both our single accounts and the podcast accounts. So that's 15 pieces of content that's also going to go out with you being branded as a sponsor. We're going to do that 3 times. We're going to do that once a week for the month that we do a deal. So now those 15 turn into 60 posts. So now you're getting 60 posts. You're getting X amount of weeks of the podcast where we're talking about it and shooting video. And we are going to create a piece of content specifically for you to just use, so that you can put it out on your own social, that you can use however you see fit to be able to get more people to use your product. We're going to create personalized content for you outside of our podcast. So that's 3 different things that you're now offering them in one cohesive package.
Yeah, that's what we did. Actually, it's funny enough. We made that pitch to a brand where we put all of our stats together. We put our LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram,
show them examples.
Oh man, y'all killed it. That sounds like y'all killed it.
You know what I think, Mark? We just need to do more of it. We need so we have a small sample size. I think we might be hitting on the right track. Maybe we can send it to you. You can check it out. See, hey, what's some improvements you can make. Let you review it, right?
Absolutely,
classes
man.
in session, right?
Yeah, let me audit that joint right away, because I'll be able to.
Exactly.
But I still think the reason why you may not have gotten that call back initially isn't the numbers just yet. I still think it's the beginning of that discovery call. Yeah. I still think now that you have the knowledge and the information to know that we have to do the discovery call, asking questions about them, not really pitching the idea we have for them.
Yeah, that's a major lesson right there.
It changes everything. It really changes their respect value for you.
Yeah.
Because everybody's pitching them their idea.
Yeah.
You're the only one that came in and was like, we got ideas for days. That's not the problem. We got ideas. We know that we got some alignment. We've done research, but we need to dig deeper. We need to know what's really plaguing you, what's really the problems that you're facing, so that we can hear how we can come up with a solution that really, knocks it out of the park. That's a different approach. And when you do that, they're more inclined to actually read and look at your pitch, because you spent the time getting information from them that you're now customizing into the pitch.
100%.
That's huge.
Yeah, so I don't think it's your batting average. I just think if you do the discovery call again and you incorporate kind of like this process into your discovery call, and you continue to group all your assets together, you might want to think about who can you pay as an influencer that could also bring promotion, and you can leverage their numbers. So who do you know has got 100K following that you could be like, hey, can we break you off $250 if you could drop a few mentions about our podcast with this brand being associated to it? We want to include you in our deck. So now your numbers just went, higher. And
Hold
there's
on,
one
what?
other little.
Hold on. So you said you reach out to an influencer and say, hey, we're about to pitch Mercedes Benz, right?
Yeah.
Mercy.
And we want to pay you $250 to post us on your story, on your feed, to include that in our reach.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then you're going to ask them for the insights. Like, they got to agree. Like, I need you to do X amount, whatever that is. Stories, reels, posts, whatever that is. And then I got to get you got to give me screenshots of the insights. Because if they're really powerful, then you're going to want to use them. But in the pitch process, you're going to use that number of those followers. So imagine, so here's why, and here's where the smart money comes. The brands know something that y'all may not know. The brands understand that they have to pay for paid ads and organic ads. And I know Alex knows this because he's in the ads business, right? But it's different when you are thinking about sponsorship. You don't think that brands will actually respect you for taking some of their money and applying it to paid. They don't care how you apply their money. They want the results. So what you could really do, being that you, Alex, actually have a little bit more knowledge than most, you could actually put together projections that you know personally. Hey, man, Owen, if we spend $1,000 promoting this podcast for this episode, I know we can get X reach just based off of what I know about programming ads. So when we actually pitch XYZ brand, let's make sure we're pitching enough money, because we're going to break off 1,000 of that and actually put that into marketing. But we're going to tell them on the front end, here's what we're going to hit. So you already know your projections are saying, I'm going to reach 200,000. All right, well, how do you get to that? Well, I got to spend $1,500 in ads to get there. All right, well, tell them in the deck, you're going to hit 200,000. And then when they ask you, well, how are you going to get that number? I don't really see how you're going to get that number. And you're going to be like, oh, a combination of paid and organic. And we got some influencers that work with us.
You know, what you said that's interesting, Mario, right? A lot of like small content creators, they're thinking, we got to do this alone, right? If I'm like a podcaster, let's say Alex and I, we're thinking, we got to do this alone. But one big thing that you said is that you can leverage other influencers and make it part of the deal to really boost up what it is that you're saying and give that reach. But you still, because the end goal is to get the deal. The end goal is to get that sponsorship. And there's nothing wrong with leveraging other people's audiences as part of your deal to really build up your cadence to get to that position where you actually have an audience on yourself, to be in that major platform where you're actually getting the deal alone and actually going there. So this is like one thing a lot of small influencers don't get is doing and teaming up with other people is not a bad thing. You don't got to do it alone.
No. Not at all, because you go in stronger, and what we're forgetting is what we're really trying to do is start a relationship.
Exactly.
We're like focused on the 25K because we want to get that money because we need it for our business, we need it for our lives. I get all of that, but also what we're doing is we're trying to start a relationship. So you got to get in the door, and then you got to try to prove yourself valuable so that you can keep going back to that door, and you can keep expanding that relationship.
Facts.
You know, it's crazy. Like nobody thinks anything different when they do events. Like when you do an event, why they got panelists? They got to have names. They're leveraging somebody else's audience. Some of those panelists you need to pay because that's their deal. Some panelists want to be in front of the audience that you're presenting. They'll come for free. The brand don't care. You're telling the brand, I got these panelists for this event.
You tell them we got Mario Armstrong on the panel.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. So the one thing that it's a red flag to me, you know, and we're working towards wrapping up. You know, this is a short pod to, you know, celebrate, and we have a ton of people on the docket. Is busting that down, you know. So let's going back to the example with Mercedes Benz. Let's say we holler at, you know, our boys, Senior Gunboy, who has about 50K on Instagram, right? And all right, I'm like, all right, yo, post this. We'll give you 300 just to get this deal with Mercedes, right? So now we break them in on the deal with Mercedes. How do you break that down? Because that's gonna feel like a very messy middle right there once that deal comes through, if it comes through.
Yeah. How do you break it down to Mercedes?
No, to Senior Gunboy, to the influencer that we're working with.
Oh, I mean, look, I think you don't want to build it up to, you probably don't want to sell it in advance, like how big, what you're trying to go for. I would ask before you have a deal, hey man, you really seem to be in the audience that, we're in, or you have a connection to an audience that we have a connection to. If we were to go out and get some brand deals for the podcast, would you be able to take some easy money for just doing some posts, and we would kick you like $200 or $250 per post that you would do? Mm-hmm. I would just start the conversation now before you have a situation, because what I've found is that when you get into the situations, people start getting greedy. You going after Mercedes? Oh yeah, no man, that's going to be a G. You're like, wait, fam, we don't even know if we're getting a deal. Like, we don't even know if we're going to close this deal. Like, hold on. So no, so before all of that, get them excited about the fact that all they got to do is a really simple thing, and they can make $200 or $300 on the regular. Mm-hmm. So what would you need in order to promote our podcast? That's how you gonna post it. What would you need in order to promote our podcast? And they'd be like, man, I need like $200-$300 to, I'll do a couple posts, and try to stretch them. Be like, I'll do one post. Oh, come on, man. Like, can you do a post and a reel or a post and a story? Like, stretch them, kind of push it a little bit. And then they'd be like, all right, I'll do XYZ. And then you say, okay, cool. What we got to do is we got to go out and try to get some brand deals so that we can actually make money to pay you. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out and try to pitch these brands. And if we get brand deals coming in, then we're going to give you, what to kind of put, podcast brought to you by Calendly or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mario, shifting gears a little bit before we're like close to wrapping up, right? You've been really major on Clubhouse, right? You've been popping, you've been consistent, you've built an audience on that. Share with us like how that has impacted, like, first your personal brand and then second your personal business.
Man, Clubhouse is legit. Fam, it's still hanging in there tough. It's still tough. Clubhouse, because Clubhouse is increasingly making discovery on the app easier for people. Here's why. It's an audio app, number one, doesn't require you to be on video. That's a big saver for a lot of people. You can be on it anytime, plus just about from anywhere, and be able to jump into a room. Number two, the topic that's being put up there carries a lot of weight. When you go onto Clubhouse and you're scrolling what they call the hallway, imagine walking into a convention center and looking at the agenda for the day, and you're seeing a whole list of different topics. Some of those topics are definitely going to appeal to you. And you're like, man, I'm going to room 303. All right, man, I'm going over here to SEO for like room 101. And then you break and you go to your rooms. It's the same thing with Clubhouse. All these topics are going to resonate with somebody. So they don't even have to know about me, but they could really be interested in the topic, and that brings them to the room. Then they find out about me. And if I'm holding it down, and if I'm giving good value, and if I'm giving good information, then they stick around, then they follow me, and they start to really become a part of that family. Mm-hmm. Now, the second piece beyond the title is, who can you do a room with? It's the greatest collaboration effort, period. Like, this is the time where you actually collaborate with other people that have like-sized audiences that you have, or people that have larger audiences that are just down to help you grow. And you come up with a topic that they can all jump in on. Now you got 5 or 6 people in one room showing up with all their followings being pinged and being notified about this topic. So it's the easiest way to really leverage collaboration. So get smart with collaboration and connecting with people. And then they got the clubs aspect where you can actually join clubs. I would say from a personal brand, it has enabled several people, including myself, to do a couple of things. Number one, cement our leadership authority in specific areas. If you keep talking about a specific area, your facade is going to come up if you start showing up weak. Yeah. But if you keep talking about a specific area and every time you keep bringing it and you got something new to say or something different to bring to that, your street cred goes up tenfold. Mm-hmm. So cementing your leadership authority is big. Number two, the discovery is very easy for people to follow you. And not only that, following you on Clubhouse, what I found is every time I go in Clubhouse rooms and I kill it, my Instagram goes through the roof.
Yeah.
Because they're reading my bio and then they're clicking on my IG. So you talk about building my brand, how that's helping me. Now I'm building my social media footprint.
I also see that there's a ability to like donate now, you know, and I know your profile has the donation feature. Like, has that also like helped you out? Like, are you making money off Clubhouse? Share
it
more
did
about
initially
that.
When it first came out, because I think a lot of people were trying to figure out the novelty of it. But not so much now. It's not, you know, I think you still have to be very proactive about that if you're going to tell people to do it. Like, they just don't inherently do it. You know, ask anybody that's on Twitch that's rocking DJ sets and they got their Venmo, their PayPal, and their Cash App up. They still will tell you, yeah, man, I got to remind these fools to hit me with a tip. It's sitting right there on the screen, but I got to remind them, yo, don't forget, tip the DJ tonight. So everybody still has to have that call to action and still remember to kind of like call that out there. So I haven't seen that really grow as much. I will say, if you are a content creator or if you are making that a part of your programming, like if you're a comedian and you're going to come up and you're going to do sets and you're asking people to pay to be a part of the set or like, you know, have a quote unquote entrance fee to get in to help this comedian, sure, that could probably be making people money, but not without the call to action or not without the integration into the actual content itself. Yeah. And then I think the last thing about Clubhouse, man, is that it's really creating partnerships outside of Clubhouse. You know, we're building a 2022 tour called the Podcast Culture House. Why are we doing that? Because I met a bunch of people that I rock with in Clubhouse early on, and we did a podcast culture conference. And we were able to work together to see how that relationship worked. Now I'm like, yo, Sean and I are absolutely taking this thing on the road. And we got dreams of doing a tour bus. We got dreams of doing a thing at South by Southwest. We got things about brands are going to be involved. So we're collaborating with people that we've met on the app in real life to do real business deals.
Man, we'd love to be a part of that, man. You know what I mean? Like,
y'all
we're
there.
big fans
That's
of Sean.
done.
We're there. You know, distance isn't an issue, man.
Y'all got 100 episodes. Y'all there. Y'all gonna have a speaking spot. Y'all ain't just gonna be there. You ain't gonna be in the
this
crowd.
Ain't amateur
y'all gonna have
hour,
a speaking
man.
spot.
Yo, this ain't amateur. Once you meet 100, like, you're actually this is professional podcasting now. You know what I'm saying? So
next level,
we'll there,
baby.
bro.
I want y'all to do
next
a live.
level.
I want y'all to do a live episode. From the
we will.
conference.
We're planning to do one here in Toronto, like next spring. So we're just gearing up, seeing how these COVID restrictions are gonna hold up. But no, it's in the plans, Mario, for sure.
Yeah,
most definitely.
When you all do that, man, that's gonna blow, fam. That's gonna blow.
Most definitely.
It's gonna be, even if you can do it right now intimately. Brands are looking. So anybody in the event space, anybody that's got a podcast or content or a book or any reason to bring people together, brunch, masterminds, coaches, meetups, any of that. Anytime you can physically bring people together, brands should be involved. You're leaving money on the table if you're not getting brands involved. You're leaving money on the table if you're not getting brands involved. So here's the thing. Right now with restrictions and all the changes, you might have to do something intimate. Brands still want to be a part of that. Make your intimate thing also virtual so that other people can still experience it even if they can't physically be there, but still do the physical thing and do it with the, COVID procedures in place. Don't think that just because like, oh man, we got to keep it under 20 people, that a brand won't be interested. Brands are looking to actually be a part of just those types of things.
That's interesting. All right, man. Now saying that, I have questions just to follow up. So, all right, one last question, and we're done. So, with that,
all right,
we're actually doing a party for our 100th episode, right? So now, this feels like counteracts what you were initially saying with the discovery call, because we already are approaching brands with the idea of the party, right, or the event, right? So how would you say pivot to have that discovery call and work towards the event you're about to throw?
You still got to tie it back to what's the value for them. You're going at it because you should be, but you're going at it with, yo, we made it to 100 episodes. We're going to do this all-out party. You all have got to be a part of this. So it's exciting, sounds great, but you still haven't told me why I need to spend money with you in order to be a part of this thing. So what you would need to go back to them and say is, especially if you've already presented it. If you've already presented the idea, say like, hey, look, I know we presented to you about the 100th episode party, but we need to really have a call with you to find out more about your priorities so that when we're thinking about the things we're going to do for you at the party, they're really hitting they're really solutions for your problems. That's the only twist you need to do at this point. And if you haven't talked to anyone yet and you're about to pitch them on the idea of the 100th episode, you can say, we are doing a celebration for the 100th episode. We think, based off our research, that you and I would be in great alignment. But I need to talk to you on the phone to find out more about your priorities, your challenges, and what's important to you, to see if our 100th episode celebration can deliver some custom solutions for your problems.
Genius. So many gems. So many gems in this. Man, what's next for you, Mario, and where can people find you?
Man, what's next is this podcast culture tour. What's next is a show that I'm really excited to be producing. It's going to be the new season for the Never Settle show, so make sure y'all check out Never Settle Network on YouTube until we get our distribution deal, which can't be yet to be announced. And then I would say the third thing is, man, if y'all don't get some of these gems and hit me up on my text club, I don't know what else to tell y'all. Y'all better hit my text club, 917-810-2347. 917-810-2347. So when I pop up in Canada and I text you and you're like, yo, I'm in Canada, come on out. I'm hanging out. 100th episode party. We here. Where you at? You won't miss out on anything that I'm doing live or anytime I'm showing up in your city.
Amazing.
That's what's up, man.
Amazing. Everything will be linked down below, so make sure y'all tap in. All right, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the hustle is what you can control. So control your grind and control your life. I'm Alex.
And I'm Owen.
Y'all go out there and get it. Cheers, baby.
Let's go. 100th episode, baby.
And that's the 100th, man. Boom.
Bang, bang. L'chaim.
Let's get it. So, man, Mario was great. I lie, because
Unreal.
Yo, the way he broke down how to approach after the discovery call, I think was very valuable, because one thing we do is we come in with our ideas first instead of discovering what they do, and that was a big gem that Mario broke down.
Yeah,
that's one thing we have to do more of when we go out to approach brands.
We're always excited to come in with ideas because we want to wow people. We want to wow. Hey, we have this amazing. That's what we did. We did that with Calendly, and we didn't know that that's what they were going to like. We just thought they will like that. But he told us, let's reverse engineer that. Go in there to listen. That's the first thing you got to do when you go in these brand meetings. Listen intensely, and then collaborate with them to see if it's going to work.
Yeah. That's one thing that I can take responsibility for. That's one thing that I did pretty the
Calendly meeting?
Yeah, I was like, remember, I was one who came up with the idea, like, yo, let's da-da-da-da-da, and come up with this pitch.
I loved it too.
I thought it was lit,
that's dope, so hey, they didn't like it, so we'll keep it moving. When we come back again next time, next quarter, we'll have something fresh and see what they want.
Most definitely. But yeah, let's get into Ayo Duyile.
Ayo Duyile.
Shout out to my guy. Yo, Ayo is just becoming like a groundbreaking tech employee, man.
Big tech energy.
For sure. Shout out to Thanksgiving. So what Ayo does, he works in project management in multiple different tech sectors. So he's worked with Facebook, Google,
Microsoft.
Bro, you know what I'm saying? Trifecta so far. So he breaks down some keys on getting a job in a tech company. And this is something that a lot of us want to get into. A lot of us are going to the networking events, going to the networking meetings, going to the BPTNs to get our job in tech. So this is someone who's actually done it, and we break down some of the tips he's used to get that job. And if you haven't already, make sure you go check out the Ayo episode, because he breaks down a lot of gems in that original episode when it comes to getting a job in tech.
Yeah, and also he has started a new initiative with Yannick Jones. He brought this thing where they're helping people like get jobs, interview questions, technical skills. So they really do a great job of doing that. Since Yannick works at Twitter, they join forces together to help other people who are aspiring to be in tech how to land the job in the interview.
So moving right along, let's get into Ayo. Speaking of chat, snapping on the chat. What do you think of Drake's album, bro?
Me?
Yeah.
I know I'm talking to his crowd right now. I think
the Toronto.
Toronto. Y'all don't be putting the T's in the Toronto.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I said that on purpose. I wanted to book you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, I already know how y'all be talking over there, but I think the album was solid. I thought it had some really, really good tracks. I don't think there was like no low moments on it. I just didn't think it was like super cohesive. I didn't think it was very cohesive. Almost like me, like in terms of body of work from like the dudes who are at that level. I want your album to kind of feel like it just flows track to track to track. So that was the only thing I felt about it. It was just like, I'm too sexy. Then champagne poetry. I don't know. It's just all over the place. You know what I'm saying?
It was very uncohesive. I think that was like one of my biggest complaints is that, the sequencing was off. Like usually what way he does it, he starts off hard in the beginning, and then gonna go soft in the middle, a little bit more hard in the end, and soft and hard. That's kind of how he. That sounded way crazy, but that's kind of how he does it. Like on if you're reading This Is Too Late, starts off with like woes. I'm a legend. Like, all the hard tracks are up front. Then he gets into like the song with Travis Scott, and there's a bare like good songs, like harder songs. And then he gets into like the emotional stuff. I don't know, man. It wasn't doing it for me this time around.
Yeah, I mean, I think like there's. I don't know. Like it's hard because Drake is really he puts out such good music, and he'll be featured on songs, and then like the songs he drops are just like random singles or quote unquote throwaways for him are like fire. But then it's like with his albums, it'd be like he sets the bar so high for himself that it makes it very. We have to be critical of his albums. You know what I'm saying? So I think he kind of sets such a high bar for himself that the albums, I don't think a lot of them have matched up to that bar. Besides, if you're reading this, Take Care, and what's the one with the head? His head, that's a classic. And what's the one with his head in the sky? Yeah. Those two are like.
I was just playing that.
Yeah. I found the album was like lazy. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Drake is lacking inspiration these days.
Like that's what I'm confused about. Like you were supposed to this album was, and I'm not a music critic or whatever, but I'm like you were supposed to put this album out in January or something like that, and you delayed it until September pretty much. And it's like you had that 9-month buffer, and this is what we got. That's kind of how I'm like, dang, like I would have thought you would have like really. Fine tooth comb this kind of thing. But overall, like I still think it was solid, but I just didn't think it was like, was it worth the wait? You know what I'm saying? That's the question that remains to be answered by me.
Yeah, too much hype. We're talking about this with Paul C. Brunson. With the 7 a.m. in Bridle Path, he was responding to Kanye's post from like 3 days ago. Right?
It was mad stuff that was in there that you can tell he just like.
He just threw that in.
The Sha'Carri stuff, like that just happened like what, a month ago? Like he made a reference to her, like Giannis Antetokounmpo, like didn't they just win the championship maybe a month and a half ago? So, what I'm saying? He was making a lot of reference that was like you could tell like a lot of this stuff was like thrown together last minute.
It's fresh. Yeah.
Word. So I'm like, how recent was his album? And is this how he always does his albums? Like, we don't know. But anyways, man, let's talk about it because, we here to check up on you and just tap in because, you were one of our top podcasts. People
that's
really
love, bro.
Mad plays,
for
bro.
real. That's really love. Like, and I think, like, fun fact, that was like my first like podcast guest feature, and then like now people be hitting me up to do podcasts or speaking engagements, or just come out and speak on whatever platform. So that's love that people really tapped in. I hope that show is a sign that people got something out of it. You know what I'm saying? So obviously I appreciate y'all for that, giving me that pedestal, man. Things have taken off pretty significantly since that feature.
And I appreciate that. Because one thing I think a lot of people want to know is how they get into tech. And you've done that flawlessly. Flawless victory.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, you just moved to Facebook, no?
So shit, man. So it was Facebook was where I was at, when we first talked. Then I switched to Microsoft, I think like right after that, and now I'm with Google. So this is the trifecta. Google. So 3 years, three big FANG companies, leveled up each time by God's grace. But I've been just maneuvering, playing the game a little bit.
All right, so I
was gonna say, man, that's like playing for the top teams in like every pro team. That's like playing for the Cowboys. Then you go play for the Lakers. Yeah. Then you go play for Real Madrid.
Yeah.
You went for like all elite companies, like back to back to back. Like your resume is like looking stacked.
Yeah, that thing undefeated now. It's Teflon.
Undefeated. That's like 3-0 in the series right now,
Facts.
man. No L's.
Facts, man. God grace, man. That's all God right there for real, man.
So break it down for us. Walk us through the process
of just jumping to each company.
Honestly, let's do the last one. Let's do the last one because I'll probably be like, I know it's a big story and we're trying to keep it a little bit more shorter. So walk us through the last one, the last move. Was that a harder move for you? Was it easy?
I don't think. No, I'll be keeping straight up with you. Like I think I figured out the formula with Facebook, and then I was just like, oh, this works. Because I was like our last convo, like I was taking hella L's. You know what I'm saying? Like I was fresh. Like our last convo was me going into my first real win into tech space. But then since then, it was like, okay, I have the formula, keep taking it there. So, for me, it was just like, okay, I'm approaching my year. I want to, be at a certain number. I want to be able to stay in Atlanta, and I want to be doing something that allows me flexibility to get into my other endeavors as well, too. So that's always the biggest thing. And then obviously just, being in a good culture and stuff like that. So my mentality was like, once I started hitting that 8-month, 9-month mark at the previous company I was at, I was like, all right, it's time to start looking. So same formula, you know what I'm saying? Looking at different roles, looking at different TPM or product roles in the Atlanta area, but we're flexible for remote as well, too. So that was tricky. But luckily, Google is scaling up in Atlanta. Atlanta is becoming this really big tech hub. And we were kind of talking about that before, but shit is like taking off tenfold since then, where you got like Airbnb coming out there, Google scaling up, Microsoft scaling up, so on and so forth. So I caught it at a good time where I found a role that was in a team that was building up in Atlanta. I applied, connected with the recruiter. The recruiter's like, hey, we want to give you this. What I did, since I wasn't in a rush and I was like, this is Google, they might be, this might not be the same old game. I took a little bit more time to prep, probably about 2 to 3 months of just preparing, mock interviewing, just learning a whole lot of YouTubing, Exponent, shout out to Exponent. So for those out there who don't know what Exponent is, it's a platform where you can kind of learn like different technical interview styles. So like system design, regular technical interview, behavioral, product management, so on and so forth. So it's really, really helpful for that. So I was using that. And I just went through the motions, man. Went through the first round, got to the second round, and then ultimately made it to the final round. And I knew when I got through the final round, I was like, I killed this shit. I was like, yeah, they got to give me the offer.
Murder to excellence.
Yeah, I was like, I killed that shit. So, I was just waiting on the offer, negotiating, and then we got the deal done, and then here we are. So I've been with Google for about a little over a month now. So it's all fresh here, but God's grace, man. At this point now, and I will probably get into this now, it's like I've made it to this point where I've gotten these three biggest tech companies in 3 years. What can I do to kind of help other people get into the same position, and level up in tech as well, too.
Most definitely.
Real quick, man. So one thing you said that's interesting, you've been on average at each organization for about 1 year. What is it about being at one place for 1 year makes you feel like it's stale. I don't know what it is, but it seems like it's like a 1 year.
Yeah,
it's like a 1 year contract.
They get 1 year contract. I be feeling like dead ass. I be feeling my life.
It's like LeBron style, right?
I dead ass be feeling like my life. I be feeling like I'm a basketball player. So, but it's random. So like a lot of things I equate my 1 year deals. You know what I'm saying? Or like I'm putting up this numbers this year in terms of my salary. You know what I'm saying? Or stuff like that. But in all seriousness, in regards to like the 1 year things, I don't think it's like tactical. I think it's more along the lines of just how I am as a person. I like to always have a bit of variety, and I know my lane is tech, and I know that the way to, level up is to, really move around. You know what I'm saying? You make the most bag when you jump companies, especially when you jump in between the FANG companies. So it's like, at this point, I'm trying to run it up in my 20s, man. So it's like, every chance I get, once I sign that deal, I sign that contract, they say you got to stay there for a year to get the full sign-up bonus. I make sure I do my year, and then I get to looking and be like, all right, what's the better opportunities out there? So and at the end of the day, like, just keeping it stacks with you, we're commodities to these people, right? Like I leave, they're going to put in somebody else, and probably at a cheaper rate. So my thing is like, man, either you getting finessed or you doing the finessing. So, I'm here to do more of the finessing to get finessed.
That's a big fact.
Keeping facts, bro. One more thing, like you said, doing everything, then stacking up your paper. So going back to the basketball analogy, that's like hitting all your stats to hit all the stuff in your closets. You got to make all-star. You got to do this. And then you go to the next organization. Now you demand a bigger deal, man. I love the hustle, bro.
Yeah, man. That's what it's about. Like we all playing some sort of sport with, whatever our hustles are, you know what I'm saying? So mine is just, usually basketball or running track, man. I love to run. Y'all know that. So those are usually the ways I equate, my day to day and my lifestyle to.
Speaking of getting finessed, let's talk about. That's a funny way to start anything. Speaking of getting finessed, let's talk about negotiating. How did you negotiate through these jobs? That's a very important factor.
I mean, for me, like I knew the game. Like I knew from college, I knew never to accept like the first offer. Like it doesn't matter how sweet the deal was. And then typically with most of the roles, I was always traveling, moving. So I would always leverage that in terms of my negotiation, getting like something signed into my package where I'd have a relocation bonus, or if I'm moving to a more expensive city, like you need to base my offer based upon this, these new expenses that are coming up in this new expensive city. And then once your experience grows and stuff like that, and you really have these heavy hitters on your resume, it's like, you can really flex your muscles, because now it's like, all right, like if y'all don't make me the right deal, I don't mind staying at Microsoft for extra year. I'll find another Google opportunity. I'll find another opportunity with another company. So I think it was that confidence that started coming in with me when I started, making it to these big companies. It was like, all right, like, and if they don't abide by what I'm, looking for in the contract, then I can easily, say no. And I did say no to other companies that I ended up going with as well too. So, but in terms of like the three things that I definitely try to focus on when it comes to negotiations, it's one, definitely focusing on like, do you have other offers to leverage? So as I'm interviewing, I always have like backup companies that like, they're just there so I can leverage another offer against them, saying like, hey, I have this offer. You need to make sure it's competitive with them. You know what I'm saying? Or I make this much, like I'm not going down. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm still a young person in this game, only 6 years in the industry. Like I need, I guess 6 years isn't super young, but let's say mid career. But I need to be paid adequately as well too. So I would say your current salary, or if you have other offers, that's the first thing you want to leverage. The second thing is definitely if you're like moving or relocating, definitely leverage that as well too. So if you're moving anywhere, you definitely want to leverage that. And then lastly, I think the biggest thing is just leveraging, like betting on yourself, like your experience, like you got to talk yourself up. Like I have a master's, so I always try to leverage that. My experiences Facebook, Microsoft, Google, like working with Lockheed Martin and being a software developer as well too. Back then, I definitely leverage that now as well too, because if you have technical skills, that really, really makes you more and more valuable to these tech companies as well too. So I think those are the three biggest things, like leveraging your skills and your experience. If you have travel or relocation or something like that, leveraging that, and then having another offer to kind of counter against is always the three biggest things I say.
Boom. Big gems. You feel me?
Massive.
All right, so that's big. So when it comes to negotiating, you said those three things, and you also mentioned that you were studying on some program, X something. What was that?
Oh, so I'm not studying on a program, but now
You're practicing.
Exactly. What I was practicing with, it was called Exponent. So it's like Exponent. It's like a YouTube platform they're on YouTube. And they give you like interview prep tips and stuff like that. But they're also a web platform where you can connect with like mock interviews. I didn't go that deep. I just used the YouTube stuff. But they're also a web platform where you can like leverage like technical interview prep as well.
Nice.
That's
so now that you are in this new gig, you and Yannick, we met Yannick when we were in Cali together. We met at North Carolina, I believe, at the time.
My dog, yes sir.
You guys are embarking on something. You're giving back now, right? You're helping other people who are like minorities to get into tech. So share more about that experience. Like, what led you guys to both come together to undergo this initiative to give back to other technical people who are minorities looking to get in the space?
Yeah, I mean, like me and Yannick, like we go back. That's like my brother. We go back since we went to school with each other, and our careers have kind of just always somehow just been parallel. Like he became a PM, I became a PM. And then eventually we actually ended up working for the same company at the same time. He worked for Microsoft while I was there as well too. And we both ended up in Atlanta during the pandemic. So, we would be just chilling, hanging out just as boys. And then somebody would text him like, hey, like I have a question on how to nail this, this interview, or like text me at the same time. Somebody else would text me and be like, hey, like I need some salary, advice or whatever. And it's just like, bro, like we gotta just like formalize this at this point. Like it was really based out of demand. And, it was like we were getting so much like demand of like people asking us for, like things about just breaking into tech. We're like, yo, we just got to formalize it a little bit more. So that's really how it came about. And then once it just so happened, again, like I said, our careers have always been parallel, that we left Microsoft pretty much at the same time. He ended up landing Twitter around the same time I landed Google. And it was just like, yo, when we make our announcements that we're switching to these companies, we need to let people know like, hey, like, we're offering our services to train people, career coaching, just give advice or whatever too. So, with that, like the last 4 weeks or 5 weeks, man, it's been, a lot of people that I've been, connecting with to help people. Some people just like quick calls and just like, they don't really need that much. They just need a little bit of a confidence boost. And then some people I'm working with extensively to ultimately get them from point A to point Z, which is, getting their resume ready to all the way to salary negotiations as well too. We have a ton of wins already in that short span, and we're gonna have a ton more too. So we're gonna get that. We're gonna hit that 100. We're probably gonna blow that out the water. We're gonna hit that 100 people for sure.
For sure.
What's the end vision with it?
Like this has been something that's so organic. Like it's something that's still it's kind of growing. I won't say too fast, but it's too fast where it's like, I think, right now the end vision is still to be continued. But ultimately, what we'd say what the short term goal is just to really, really create a pipeline and a structure for people to kind of connect with us to ultimately land these jobs as well, too. So if you have any advice that you need, or if you have any, like if you need a mock interview, or if you need any salary negotiation, we can land you that job. And then ultimately you come back, you pay it forward as well too, and you can be the next person to kind of help the next people as well too. So that's kind of what we're formulating as well too. I mean, I'll just keep it transparent where there's people who hit us up and said like, hey, we want you to come speak at our school and provide that, or can you present this as like more of like a formal class where people can kind of come through your program as well too. So these are thoughts that are in the works as well too. We just got to make sure that we have the capacity to do it. Because one thing about me, I don't want to sign my name on anything that I can't do, and do it thoroughly as well too. But there's a lot of different ways that we can take it. So, and the best thing about this is like something that is organic, something that, it just it comes to me easily anyway. So it doesn't even feel like work. So that's the best thing for me.
No, that's huge. There needs to be a team to tech pipeline. You know what I'm saying?
We gotta assemble a tech Avengers, man.
A lie, you know what I'm saying? People that go into coding, people that go into entrepreneurship, people that go into like project management. There needs to be like a whole facts, bro. I see that. I completely see that. I see that becoming like a membership, You know, and you can even partner with companies too, and then just like have those like alley-oop right into the companies.
Yeah, I mean, there's been companies who've already reached out to us and said like, hey, like they've already, you know what I'm saying? Like the work is working, you know what I'm saying? So it's like people are reaching out to us. This thing is happening a lot faster than any of us, me and Yannick, ever expected, which is a good problem to have. We just trying to like, really kind of wrangle it in. Like, all right, let's just make sure we do one thing right first before we start to like widen our scope as well too. But yeah, like, you know, companies have started reaching out to us. We actually, I don't know if y'all want to get into this, but, you know, University of Washington has both of us now as adjunct professors and mentors for 100 different people who are aspiring to be product managers as well too. So if you know, University of Washington, you know what I'm saying, you're going to see our face, not physically on campus, but, you know, virtually you'll see us affiliated with University of Washington as well too. So these things are happening fast, man. Like this, a new development over like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So, you know, it's just all a blessing. Things are really, really happening fast in that regard.
Yo, congrats.
Man,
that's big.
Appreciate
congrats, man. Think what can happen in 12 months, man. Like 'cause last time we spoke, like you were in a different state, and now look, 12 months, a year goes by.
Yeah.
And
I really think that's a testament to the pandemic, man. Like the pandemic has, you know, it's really helped me like lock in, but also like do the things that I love to do. And that's not even just with like work or anything, like travel, you know what I'm saying, fitness, spend more time with friends and family as well too. And then obviously like really, really help the next, you know, people that are trying to break into tech. So the pandemic, if it wasn't for this, I definitely would probably be scatterbrained, not really, really driving deep into what I guess God has called me to do.
Nah,
I feel you.
Awesome, man. Working towards wrapping up, man. Actually, before I want to ask that, for people that are looking to get a job that got laid off during the pandemic and they're approaching these companies getting L after L after L, what tips do you have for them?
So I think one thing is that you need to the first thing is you need to reevaluate yourself, right? Like, for those who didn't hear my first convo on here, I think we talked about like all the L's I was taking. So, you know, reevaluate what I did. I just said, okay, like all these companies can't be crazy. What am I doing wrong? So once you keep it stacks with yourself and say, what am I doing wrong? Or what skills don't I have? Then just fill the gaps from there. Understand what you want to be, what you are good at already, and what you like to do in tech. I think everybody comes into tech being like, I'm going to be a software engineer. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you ultimately need to make sure that, you know, your current skill set and your current passions align to that. If you don't have if those two don't go together, then you're going to set yourself up for failure as well too. So 1, understanding what your skill set and your passions are. 2, understanding where the gaps that you need to find as well too. 3, networking your ass off, man. Like your network is really, really, you know, important. Like that's, you know, how we connect. We connected in the airport and we've still been tight to this day. You know what I'm saying? That's 3-4 years ago. So it's like networking, leveraging LinkedIn, man. Like, you know, and not just connecting with people on LinkedIn. One thing I've started doing in the last 2-3 years is really, really sharing content to LinkedIn. And that's on all platforms as well too. Definitely, you know, share content because that's what's going to connect you with like-minded individuals. So, you know, I know a lot of people who are doing like 100 days of code, like, hey, I'm learning how to become a coder. I want to show my, you know, my process and my steps of, you know, where I went from day 1 to day 100 as well too. So, you know, I would say definitely leverage your connections and also like being transparent about your process. There's no shame in talking about your failures. Like I appreciate when people talk to me and want to know the story about why and how I failed, because ultimately that's what propels me to win. Once you start to realize and like you really think about like, dang, how'd I fail this time? And it's a quote unquote fail, but it's really like a lesson. You won't do that again, right? You'll ultimately like get them scars and you'll keep it pushing as well too. So, you know, not too many hit a home run on the first swing, you know what I'm saying? So ultimately you really got to, you know, keep swinging. But just every time you take a swing and you miss, reevaluate what you're doing and then kind of fix and finish it well too. That's, you know, that's really what that's what software development is all about for real too. You know, you put in some code here. Let's see how the users react to it. Do they like it? No. All right. Back to the drawing board, iterate again, test, and take the data. And then you ultimately have a good product that people like after like 4, 5, 7, 10 revisions as well too. So
big facts. That's a beautiful tip to end on, man.
Yeah.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, actually, no. Where can people find you?
Yeah, man. You can find me. I'm terrible. I'm best on LinkedIn, man. Find me on LinkedIn at Ayo Duyile, so AYO. Last name Duyile, Duyile. Connect with my nonprofit, TextGiving, at TextGiving on all platforms. So what we do is we aim to empower the youth to break into tech by providing them with technical resources as well as technical hardware supplies, so laptops, hotspots, so on and so forth as well too. If you need, if you're an adult looking to pivot into the tech industry, definitely connect with me and Yannick. That's in my bio, backdoortech.io, all one word, backdoortech.io. So that's the, the career guidance that we're providing with, people who are looking to level up in the tech space. So that's a lot, but hopefully you guys followed all that.
We'll link
my
it below
cousin
in the description.
My cousin Carlton did a session with you guys, and he had nothing but great feedback.
That's love, bro. That's so love.
Because he's a software engineer right now. He's about to graduate from York here in Toronto.
Okay.
And as soon as I saw you guys post that, I think it might have been on your post or Yannick's, but he definitely got in touch with you guys. He might have spoken to Yannick, I don't know, but what he told me is just like, damn, like they really, really like hooked it up.
Yeah, nice.
They really like helped me out.
See? Man, give us, we're going to start sharing these testimonials, man. We're just racking them in right now, but give us like a couple weeks and then these testimonials are going to start coming out too, man. So definitely connect with us if you're looking to break into tech. We got y'all.
Most definitely. So with that being said,
man, this is the 100th episode, man. We got to get some like sparklers. You gonna cut me off? You know what I'm saying,
bro?
We gotta get some sparklers.
We're sending you a package, dog.
Okay.
Yeah, let's say we're gonna send you a package. You gotta send us your address.
I got you, man. Here's my address, so everybody can know. It's like, no, I'm joking. But nah, like I appreciate the love. I was actually wanted to end out just by saying thank y'all, man. Like we did our first conversation 2 years ago or something like that, man. I am an introvert to the bone, and I'm still learning how to work my way out of this introvert lifestyle. So that was like one of my first experiences of me, like kind of, letting people know who I'm about and stuff like that. And that's, helped my career a lot more. So all these speaking engagements and everything that's came out of this, our first initial conversation, I just want to say thank y'all, man. Y'all doing good things, man. 100 episodes definitely doesn't need to be taken lightly. So shout out to y'all, man. Here's to 100 more. Here's to 1,000. And we want to see y'all run it up, man. I already see how it's, scaling up. So just like how y'all seen my growth, I see y'all growth, man. And I just want to, tip my hat, man. We got to give everybody flowers while they're here. So shout out to y'all.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate
real,
that.
Man.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
100.
Yes, sir.
100 is not a joke thing. You know what I'm saying? It's work,
man. What?
Especially for podcasting,
yes.
bro.
Yes, man.
A lot of early mornings. A lot of back and forth with people and their team. Oh, can we do it later? Can we do it now? My lead.
Nah,
man.
Not
complain.
No, with y'all, like, that, it don't matter. Like, just let me know. I really wish we could have done that shit in Atlanta, man. I've just been so back and forth, man. I would have been dope to do it at Best Fest, man. Y'all look like y'all were doing your thing down there, though.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I got a question for you. All right. So when we're in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
All right. So Owen already knows where I'm going with this.
Dog.
We're at Magic City.
Bro.
We're at Magic City.
Oh, y'all was at Magic City. Okay.
All right.
We had to, bro.
We had to. We ain't no strip clubs like that in Canada. That don't exist. It's either now or never.
We'll be throwing toonies and loonies at.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So all right. This is now or never. So we got to take it in. All right. So we leave in Magic City now, right? They called the Ubers, and we about to leave. We're waiting for the Uber now. Out of a black SUV, T.I. hops out.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So Owen taps me. He's like, "Yo, T.I.'s here. T.I.'s here." You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking around. I'm looking at the security. The security in Atlanta. AK'd up.
Yeah.
It's
open carry in Atlanta. You can have a gun like it's nothing out there. Open carry.
Open carry. 5 security guards at like 3 a.m. Owen taps me. Yo, T.I.'s right there. I'm like, bruh, not right now, dog. Yeah. This ain't the time. So Owen's like, man, you're too cool for school. Something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. Goes up, calls T.I. T.I.
Hey, yo.
T.I. T.I. is standing there. T.I. standing there. And he has like his head a bit down. Someone who was talking to walks off. And he's like, yes.
He said, yeah.
He said yes,
Dog,
like that.
He's making it sound like he was distressed when he said yes, bro. He's like, yeah. Like he didn't do like the whole drive. Yeah. Like
Bro, he
didn't do that.
He rolled his neck. Like he was wearing a suit, and I could see that like his neck on the suit had turned a bit when he
Had a crease.
You know what I'm saying? You know when you're wearing a suit, the shirt is tight on your neck, right? So you turn, you feel like. Anyway, so the question is, am I wrong for being like, nah, like now's not the time? You know what I'm saying? What's your opinion on that?
I'll let you say your piece, bro. Like
You said it was 3 a.m.?
That's Al's opinion, right? So my opinion, right, is like, yo, like, look, we're here in Atlanta, right? It's 2 a.m. Just everything aligned, bro. Magic City, where we did our thing. T.I. is right there. Like, no fans, no whatever. It's just him, some security, Alex, and I. We come from Toronto, right, to Atlanta, and like we see T.I. My mentality is like, I don't care what grounds we're on. I'll at least say something, because who knows what mood he's in. He might be in a happy mood. He might be willing to have a conversation. We could be like, hey, man, like, yeah, hustle over everything. This is what we do. We love, like, your rise to whatever.
I feel you.
I'm taking my shot. Alex's side of things is just like, that's not the place to say what's up, even though he's right there. What do you think about that?
Like, I think now, at first when Alex was saying it, I was like, damn, that's a little, but now I kind of more so see it because it's like, yo, like, y'all got a platform y'all trying to promote, and then T.I.'s a hustler himself. So it would have been like, you know what? In my head, I would have been probably the same way. I would probably try to get in contact with, yo, can you just shout out my, my platform on your Instagram real quick or something? I would have tried to. So I definitely agree, Owen. I'm with you there. Cause it's like, if not now, when you probably gonna see T.I.? You don't live in Atlanta, and I don't know when T.I. I don't even think T.I. can get into Deadass can't get into Toronto. He got too many felonies, and I know you don't play about that. So you know what I'm saying? Like, if that was the purpose, like getting him to kind of like do something for the brand, or even just give you some gems or anything like that, I probably would have said something to him too. So I feel you. I'm Team Owen on this one.
See, Al.
Team Owen. I'll take that.
Like, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. It's not the optimal place, but it's like, if not now, then when?
Yeah, man, like, tomorrow's never promised. That's my mentality always, man. Just like, if I see you, like, shoot, bro. You gotta like say something. Yeah. If he's mad, so be it. But at least I can go to bed that night and be like, you know what? I said something. I'd rather get shot down than, not just live with like, man, what could have been? Could it have led to an interview? Could it led him to be like, man, that sounds dope. Let me get on your podcast. Like, talk. Here's my manager. Yeah. Hit him up. I don't know, but at least we shot, bro. Yeah. We shot. That's the end of the day.
For me,
Alex, give your side. Maybe you might give some perspective to Ayo to see where you're coming from.
All right. So for me, I've interviewed like a few celebs. And I've seen them, like how they've moved, you know what I'm saying? So when you go, all right, and one thing to paraphrase as well is like, where we are right now, it's Magic City at 3 a.m. What is on T.I.'s mind? It ain't networking.
It ain't networking.
It ain't networking. And I know that even if to go through that, you never have a second chance to make a first impression. You never have a second chance to make a first impression. So I wouldn't want to be this guy and say it goes the wrong way. And next thing you know, let's say we're going to invest in T.I.'s there the next day. We want to introduce ourselves, and then T.I.'s there. We're going to look crazy.
If he remembers, you know how many people this man sees a day? People that he don't know from a can of paint.
That's a fact. That's a good point. But I don't know. I like approaching people on the same page. Like, for instance, when we were in Afrotech, we snuck into VIP, and Chameleonaire was there. We shot our shot, and met Chameleonaire, chopped it up, broke it down. At that time, I'm like, yo, let's go. Let's shoot our shot. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
I like to know, like, to make an environment where it's common ground.
True.
You know?
I feel you. I mean, I see that side as well, too. But I ultimately, it's just like, man, who knows if you ever going to see it.
You never know. You never know.
But
you never know.
Last thing I'll say is Afrotech is back. So make sure everybody pulls up to Afrotech this year. And it's going to be in the Bay, I think, November 7th through the 10th, man. That's going to be a good chance to connect with people, man. You can meet me there. You know, we can connect, too.
Most definitely. We got our tickets. We there.
Oh, y'all got locked in? Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So the squad will be there. Yannick, you, Jamal.
Yes, sir. The same old gang will be back. You know what I'm saying? Coming back at Afrotech in a lot better position than we was when we first went.
Yeah.
So that's crazy to think about, man.
Facts. Awesome, yo. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, the hustle is what you can control. So control your grind and control your life. I'm Alex.
And I'm Owen.
Peace. Oh, and I'm Ayo, man. I'm Ayo, man. Peace, man. You guys had your little vibe going. I didn't want to throw it off.
And that's the 100th episode, y'all. All right, guys. So that makes part 1 of our Hustle Over Everything 100th episode. Tune in next week for part 2, where we break down Paul, Vivian K. Shout out to Vivian K. And
Shout
Pollyanna Reed. All right, y'all. See you soon. Thank you so much for listening. The conversation continues on our Instagram at 247hustler. We post very frequently. And be sure to check out our merch at hustleovereverything.co. We have some amazing sweaters, hats, mugs, and a lot more. Lastly, our Proud to Pay program is linked in the description below. Thank you so much for your support. Talk to you next Monday. Peace.